Steelers fans, the wait finally may be over. Aaron Rodgers is in the city of Pittsburgh today to meet with Steelers coaches, owner Art Rooney II, GM Omar Khan, and of course head coach Mike Tomlin. And I do believe that the Pittsburgh Steelers' intention is to bring in Aaron Rodgers today to finalize an agreement to make him the next starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Welcome into Steelers Talk. I am your host, Jack Sperry. We'll be joined by our producer, Jeffrey Cooperstein, here momentarily. But this could be a monumental day in the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers as Aaron Rodgers is in the building, meeting with coaches, meeting with staff, touring the facility, doing all the things necessary potentially to get a deal done with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, it is worth mentioning that no deal is imminent at this point in time. Multiple people are reporting at this point that this could be an exploratory visit for Aaron Rodgers, so the possibility of him leaving the facility today without a deal is a legitimate possibility. But if you ask me, and at this point in free agency, with the limited options that you have at the quarterback position, in a win-now season for the Pittsburgh Steelers, this is a team that still believes that they are close to winning Super Bowls. I believe that you need to get a deal done today if you are Steelers GM Omar Khan. I think you need to get a deal done today if you are Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin. This has been the quarterback that they have been targeting since the first day of free agency, and now as we approach the 2-week mark at NFL free agency at this point, I think that you need to get this deal done. And I think if you miss out on Rodgers and he ends up leaving your building, if he ends up going to the New York Giants, if he ends up going to the Minnesota Vikings or elsewhere, I think your chances of winning a Super Bowl go down pretty dramatically, especially with the reports that the Steelers are not all that interested in bringing back former starting quarterback Russell Wilson in free agency this year. Gerry Dulac reported moments ago, breaking, Aaron Rodgers is at the Steelers facility today, an indication a deal with the team could be forthcoming. Per sources, he did have an update to that we'll get to here in just one moment. This is the update. Gerry says sources have cautioned a commitment from Rodgers may not come today, if at all. And he is just visiting with team owner Art Rooney II, head coach Mike Tomlin, and general manager Omar Khan. Now, what I'll say about this particular tweet, guys, is that Rodgers is not just flying across the country. He lives in California, so he is, it's a pretty long flight to Pittsburgh, PA from California. He's not going over there to see his buddy Mike Tomlin, all right? He's not going over there to get a Primanti Bros sandwich, even though he should definitely go get one of those. He's there to explore the possibility of becoming a Pittsburgh Steeler. And if he is impressed enough by Mike Tomlin and his coaching staff, I'm sure he's going to meet extensively with offensive coordinator Arthur Smith today and quarterbacks coach Tom Arth, and they're going to come together on a vision for what the offense would look like with him as the starting quarterback. And I do think at this point, because he is choosing to go to Pittsburgh first before the New York Giants, that this is the team that he would prefer between the two clubs. It doesn't mean he won't leave the building and then go out and potentially, visit the New York Giants facility and meet with Brian Daboll. That's certainly a possibility at this point. But if I am GM Omar Khan, if I am Art Rooney II, the owner, if I am head coach Mike Tomlin, I want to get this deal done today and make Aaron Rodgers, the 4-time NFL MVP and Super Bowl champion, the next starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Here's producer Coop. He's wearing his Florida. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Let's go. Josina Anderson just tweeted out, this would qualify as the Steelers feeling like they are getting closer, as previously reported 2 days ago, talking about Rodgers.
Shut up, Josie.
Yeah, shut up, Josie. He is visiting the facility today, Coop. You got your Florida Gators shirt on.
Yes, indeed.
Today, your Gators do play. They're your chosen champion in March Madness this year.
I did choose the Gators to win everything in March Madness. They are also like my second favorite team, so hopefully they can get it done today. They're playing the 16 seed, so if they don't, they're in trouble there. But
yeah. What do you think about the Rodgers situation, my friend?
It's interesting for sure. If I had to guess right now, I would say they are not going to reach a deal, and he's going to leave the facility without a deal. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to want to go on some other visits, whether it's the Minnesota Vikings, whether it's the New York Giants, whether it's whoever else Aaron Rodgers wants to go visit with. It feels like they're not going to get a deal done, but this is certainly a step in the right direction, in my opinion. And I'm glad that, there's finally some actual movement here on the quarterback market, because for the last week and a half, there's been nothing. And it's been kind of a joke that we've been having to deal with this. But I'm glad that we finally have some movement, and maybe Aaron Rodgers, our new quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Mike Tomlin, if I'm Omar Khan, like I've said, I'm doing whatever I can to try and get Rodgers under contract today. All right?
I agree.
I don't want him going to other places where he could strike a deal with somebody else. I would want him to sign today. Now, who knows? It's Aaron Rodgers. Maybe he wants to go on a 4-day ayahuasca darkness retreat after today. Who knows what he needs to do to come to a decision. But I'm really hoping that today is the end of the saga. I'm really hoping that Mike Tomlin, he's one of the most charismatic people in the entire league. If anybody is going to be able to convince Aaron Rodgers to sign on the dotted line today, with how much he respects Mike Tomlin, I think it would be Coach T. So hopefully he's pulling out all the stops for Aaron Rodgers today.
Coach Tomlin, Omar Khan, and somebody else was supposed to be at Michigan Pro Day today, and they are not there. They are in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, so Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan were supposed to be at Michigan's Pro Day today. Terrell Austin, the defensive coordinator, is still there, which probably indicates they're looking at Will Johnson, the cornerback.
Or maybe a Kenneth Grant.
And Kenneth Grant as well. That's a good point. But the fact that, Kenneth Grant, Will Johnson, two potential top Steelers draft targets are there in Ann Arbor today working out, and instead Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan are here in Pittsburgh to discuss the future of the quarterback position here in Pittsburgh with Aaron Rodgers, tells me that they have a pretty decent idea that Rodgers could maybe sign today. So I would say keep your eyes open for a potential Aaron Rodgers signing today. If I were the Steelers, I'd be doing whatever I can to get him on the dotted line by the end of the day today. But who knows what's going to happen, man? It's going to be interesting. We're going to be covering all the latest reports that come out from Pittsburgh on today's live show. We'll watch some March Madness basketball with you guys, and we're just going to chop it up here on the show as we await potential word on an Aaron Rodgers signing. My man John Masood coming in with a $10 super chat to get us going. He says, Jack, Cassie Voth and Coop.
I love that Cassie is the only one that gets her full name.
Yeah, why don't we get the full name, John? Come on.
Shout out, John. We appreciate it.
We sprinted to get live on this show, man. So we appreciate your guys' support for sure. And of course, if you guys want to send in a Venmo, Super Chat, Cash App, PayPal, if you guys want to send in a donation, we greatly appreciate all of your support. If you have a question, if you have a comment that you want to get on the show, this is an open forum right now, guys. We'll answer all of your questions. We'll break down all the reporting that's out there as it comes through today. We'll watch some March Madness basketball as things kind of get going here. Baylor and Mississippi State is now into the second half. So we'll have some fun on the show today. But I'll also say here, guys, if Aaron Rodgers signs today, we're giving away a Steelers jersey today.
Yes,
we are giving away an Aaron Rodgers Steelers jersey if he ends up signing today, and we will be raffling off that jersey whenever Rodgers makes his decision. So if you guys want to get in on that jersey raffle, it's $20 to enter via Super Chat. It's one raffle ticket. But with Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal, if you put in $20 on Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal, this is where you guys can find me on all those different platforms. We'll give you an extra raffle ticket. So 2 raffle tickets if you do Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal to get in on the Steelers jersey raffle whenever Aaron Rodgers makes his decision. But if you put in a Super Chat, $20 Super Chat, that's 1 raffle ticket, all right? And the reason for that, guys, is YouTube takes a 30% cut of every single Super Chat you guys send in. But with Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal, we get to keep more of the proceeds. So if you're going to help us out by sending us Venmos, Cash Apps, and PayPals, we're going to help you out by getting you that extra raffle ticket. We have a new report here from Albert Breer, who says Aaron Rodgers met today with Steelers GM Omar Khan, Coach Mike Tomlin, and some of Tomlin's coaches. Tomlin and the staff spend a lot of time on the road at pro days this time of year, so it is significant that they are doing this.
Absolutely.
So that is the latest that we are at right now. Adam Schefter reported Aaron Rodgers is visiting the Steelers' training facility today and meeting with their coaching staff. As Gerry Dulac reported, No deal at this time is close per source. So I think what that means, Coop, and he says that the deal is not close.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily mean that a deal can't get done today.
No, of course.
Like, it's very possible that Rodgers, goes to the facility, he meets with Tomlin, he talks with Arthur Smith, he figures out that the fit is correct. Because I think that is what's most important for Aaron Rodgers at this point. The contract is kind of whatever. I think that what's really important to him is that he finds the right fit, because if he wants to play, and the fact that he's in Pittsburgh right now indicates he does want to play football next year.
I agree.
I think the number one thing on his mind is, what team can I go to that I can win a Super Bowl with and gives me the best chance to win a Super Bowl and fits best with my skill set. And today I think that what the meetings are all about is trying to come up with a vision together on what this Steelers offense would look like with Rodgers at quarterback. And I think that with DK Metcalf in the building, with George Pickens in the building, with Roman Wilson in the building, with Calvin Austin III in the building, with Pat Freiermuth, they're going to be drafting a running back early in the NFL draft, and Jaylen Warren, a young and up-and-coming offensive line and a really talented defense, compared to the New York Giants, where there's a lot of question marks in that roster. I don't even think it's a discussion which team is the better fit for Aaron Rodgers at this point in time.
I definitely think it's the Steelers. The Steelers, I would say Aaron Rodgers it's mutually beneficial for both. I think the Steelers are the best chance for Rodgers to win. I think Rodgers is the best chance for the Steelers to win that's currently out there on the market. So there is motivation on both sides for this deal to get done. And while the deal maybe doesn't get done today, it does feel like significant groundwork is at least being laid for a potential deal to be done as well. As all of the reporters are more or less saying the same thing in different ways. This one from Pelissero says no deal is done or imminent, but Rodgers spent time with coaches. Another sign he's seriously considering the Steelers. And that's kind of where I think we sit right now, is he's seriously considering it. No deal is done or hammered out yet. That's not to say it can't happen here soon.
Absolutely. Tom Pelissero, his wording also implies that he is no longer at the Steelers facility and the visit's already over. But people like Schefter and Dulac and all these other people are indicating that he's still there. So there's some conflicting reporting as to whether or not he's still in the Steelers building. Something to remember here, guys, is that Russell Wilson visited the Steelers. I believe it was on a Friday before free agency, and then he signed on Sunday.
Yep.
So it's very possible that it takes a couple days after this visit to iron out the details of the contract or what have you. But I kind of feel like, this is eventually going to happen. It's going to happen before the end of the weekend. Ian Rappaport said the first visit for free agent quarterback Aaron Rodgers. And the fact that he's saying the first visit implies that he might have other visits lined up. I don't think he's going to visit with the Minnesota Vikings. I think that they are moving forward with J.J. McCarthy. And I think Rodgers probably would have visited Minnesota first if they were actually on the table. So I think that if the Steelers do, or if Rodgers does take another visit, it will be with the New York Football Giants, and that's it. And then he'll decide between the Steelers and Giants. But Diana Rossini said this. She's been really on the trail of the Vikings thing as of late. Even yesterday, still predicted he would be a Viking. Said the plan in Pittsburgh is for Aaron Rodgers to visit with Steelers coaches. Pittsburgh has kept its offer open for the four-time MVP. And one source says it's possible an agreement is reached today. And keep in mind here, guys, Rossini's agency, all right, her agent, works for the same agency as Aaron Rodgers' agent, all right?
She's kind of plugged in.
So she's kind of plugged into the Rodgers kind of thing. And a lot of people have been saying that Rossini has been kind of a mouthpiece for Rodgers, pushing the Minnesota Vikings thing for as long as she has. And now that she's shifting to Pittsburgh and saying that her sources are telling her that an agreement is possible today, I think is actually a good sign if you're hoping that Aaron Rodgers signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers sometime today. Big Mo 5322 says, are they thinking of drafting Jalen Milroe? We talked about this yesterday on Live, Coop. If they get Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Milroe might actually be my number one quarterback target in the draft this year.
I agree. I think Milroe would be a fantastic option on day 3. It feels like Tomlin likes the style of QB that Milroe is, number one. Number two, Milroe needs at least 2 years sitting behind a veteran quarterback to develop his NFL skills. And What better quarterback room to do it in than with Aaron Rodgers and Mason Rudolph?
And it actually fits the timeline perfectly, Coop, because the Steelers have 2 years to get Cam Hayward a ring.
Exactly.
All right, you can sign Aaron Rodgers to a 2-year deal. Rodgers has indicated that he would like to play around 2 more seasons. Some reporting is suggesting he would like a 2-year contract. And I think the Steelers can give him that. Give him the 2-year kind of runway to be this team's starter and, try to get Cam Hayward a ring before he retires. And then, if that doesn't work, then you have Jalen Milroe learning from Aaron Rodgers, and you have a potential long-term answer at the position in-house learning from one of the most intelligent and one of the best quarterbacks in the history of football.
My only fear is that the plan is to sit Milroe for 2 years, and the Steelers are unsuccessful in the playoffs in the next couple seasons, it could be a whole new regime. It could be a new coach. It could be a new GM. It could be a new everything. And that would be a lot of change for Milroe to go through. So,
but hey, man, if he can play,
Steelers are putting all their eggs into the next 2 years. Basically.
Yes, they are putting all of their eggs into the next 2 years, trying to win a Super Bowl, or at least showing that they can still win playoff games under head coach Mike Tomlin. And I do think that Rodgers gives the Steelers the best chance to do that. If they're going to be embracing a win now mindset, you got to get the quarterback that gives you the best chance to win now. And I do think Rodgers, even though only 5 wins in New York last year, the numbers weren't what they were in his previous MVP caliber seasons, but I think that we've seen from guys like Brett Favre, we've seen from guys like Tom Brady, where they kind of fizzled out with prior teams, and then even after the age of 40, found new teams. With Favre, it was the Minnesota Vikings. With Tom Brady, it was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And both of those older quarterbacks were able to go to new places. And in Tom Brady's case, he won a Super Bowl. And in Brett Favre's case, he was like a play away from going to the Super Bowl. So, and then like their production completely exploded when they went to new teams. So Aaron Rodgers, who still has his arm strength, who still has his arm talent, who still has his ability to get the ball out quickly, who still has his football intelligence. I think Aaron Rodgers is certainly in the same class of quarterback as Tom Brady and Brett Favre as an all-time great at the position, who still hasn't lost his arm strength and his intelligence, which tells me that in the right place, with the right coaching staff, with the right surrounding cast, with the right defense to support him, he can absolutely still be a successful quarterback in the National Football League. And who knows, he might even be able to do what Brett Favre and Tom Brady did with new teams in their 40s and really compete for a Super Bowl. All right, and if that's the Steelers, kind of forte, and if that's what their mindset is right now, I think you got to dive headfirst into it, all right? Because I think if you were going to rebuild, Coop, you fire Tomlin, you trade Watt, you trade Hayward, you trade Fitzpatrick, you draft a new quarterback in round 1. You're not doing those things.
No.
All right? So if you're going to go all in, go with the guy that gives you the best possible chance to do it. And, am I guaranteeing Rodgers will win a Super Bowl here in Pittsburgh? No. All right? It could be a disaster. But, in terms of the guys that give you the best chance to get into legit Super Bowl contention, I think Rodgers gives you the best shot. All right, if you guys want a shout-out right now, we're going to give some shout-outs to the over 900 people watching live around the world. Spam those me's if you haven't already, and we will give some shout-outs. We've got Utah, Terry, CL, Paranormal in the Funhouse. What's up, my man? Got JD, Hot Rod 24, Ollie the Reaper, Dads of Duval County. We've got Devin, Anthony, Jamie, Dylan, Hip Hop Anonymous. We got Chuck Dugan, Jay Breezy, Carl, Dylan, Kevin, G. We've got Gen 5. We've got Cameron, That Pennsylvania, Justin Yankuski. We got Gary Reynolds. We've got David Bowers. We got JD Meta. We've got Malvo. We've got RJ. We got Mark. We've got Jack. We've got Lake Havasu. We've got Ed. We've got Russell. We've got Ed again. Electric Divergent. Touchdown. Kenny. We've got a bunch of people spamming those me's, baby. If you want Aaron Rodgers to sign today with the Pittsburgh Steelers, spam those me's.
I like this update from Ari Mirov, and we've talked about this a little bit as well. He says if Rodgers signs with the Steelers, he would face both his former teams in the Jets and Packers in 2025. The Jets game would be at MetLife Stadium, while the Packers game would be in Pittsburgh, and they'd also travel to go face the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I mean, if he wants to go on the revenge tour next year,
it's us, baby.
It's in Pittsburgh. I mean, like if you go to the Giants, like you would, I believe that they would, or if they went to the Vikings, he would play the Packers twice, and the Bears twice. But they don't play the Jets this year. The Pittsburgh Steelers do, and it's in MetLife against the Steelers' former quarterback, Justin Fields. I mean, that's a primetime game waiting to happen, isn't it? It's got to be. It's got to be, man. Aaron Rodgers going back to MetLife Stadium to play against Justin Fields, kind of the revenge game of all revenge games right there. You get to play the Jets. You get to play his former team in the Packers. He gets to play the Vikings, who said no thank you to him. Then he gets to play the Bears and own them one last time before he retires.
We don't know for a fact, but we know that the Vikings said no to him because if they didn't say no, he would be a Viking.
I think he would too. And listen, I understand why Rodgers wanted to go to Minnesota.
Absolutely.
I understand why. They had an awesome free agency this year. They beefed up their offensive and defensive lines. They won 14 games last year with Sam Darnold, who was kind of a cast-off before heading into last season. They have Aaron Jones, one of his best friends on the team. You got Justin Jefferson, one of the best, if not the best receiver in football. Jordan Addison, Pittsburgh fans definitely know Jordan Addison's acolytes. Got T.J. Hawkinson, an excellent tight end. Kevin O'Connell is the reigning coach of the year and one of the top 5 offensive play callers in football. Brian Flores is calling the defense. I understand why Rodgers wanted to make 100%. A push for Minnesota. But now that Minnesota's out and you would have to wait weeks, if not months, for them to maybe come back to you if J.J. McCarthy has a bad spring, which is unlikely at this point, then, you got to look at your other options. And right now it appears the other options are the Pittsburgh Steelers or the New York Football Giants. And with all the question marks surrounding the Giants, coaching staff, they might draft a quarterback in the top 5. They have one established offensive weapon in Malik Neighbors, and the defense is decent, but we have a little bit of news around the NFL, too. Brandon Cooks going to the New Orleans Saints.
Wow, back to the Saints.
So a wide receiver comes off the board in NFL free agency as Brandon Cooks, former Cowboy, heading to the New Orleans Saints.
I believe he was a first-round pick of the Saints way back when.
Yeah, and now he gets to play with Derek Carr and Kellen Moore.
Have fun.
$2 from Fetty Kruger says, with Aaron Rodgers, would you draft Milroe? Absolutely. I would draft Milroe. Now, listen, man, I would.
He said, where would you draft?
Where?
4th?
Probably. I would love him in the 4th round. I don't know if he gets there after.
You think he's day 2 now?
I think he could be day 2 just because of the time that he ran. Because listen, man, he's a bigger version of Malik Willis, and Malik Willis went in the 3rd round.
But does his 40 time as the 40 time as a QB really matter?
Yes, because he's going to be used as an offensive rushing threat. I mean, you just don't see quarterbacks running the low 4.4s or high 4.3s very often, man. Especially at his size, he's big.
What's pretty funny too is I think Bama said he ran a 4.37, but the scouts are saying it's like a 4.44,
and that's fine. That's that's like Justin Fields,
exactly.
What Justin Fields ran. So he's a very fast quarterback, and I do think that 4th round is where I would prefer to take him, but. I think that what I would do, Coop, and what I would love to see the Steelers do is trade down from 21 and then get an extra pick on day 2 and then maybe spend, your final pick of day 2 on Jalen Milroe, if you could do that.
I'd be in on that.
Because,
sure.
Milroe, he has a long ways to go, but if you're picking up Rodgers and you are signing him to a 2-year contract, you're giving Milroe 2 years where he doesn't even have to think about playing. He just has to worry about getting better, developing, doing all the stuff that he needs to do to be ready past this 2-year stretch to be a dynamic threat for the Pittsburgh Steelers at quarterback. And he can certainly do that. If you can trade down from your 1st-round pick, get an additional day 2 pick, whether that's a round 2 pick or a round 3 pick, I would spend the final day 2 pick then in that scenario on Milroe. But obviously the best case scenario is getting him in round 4. So that would be the value for him.
I'm reading Russini's article that she wrote. She said, Rodgers hoped to sign with the Vikings, but the team decided not to add him for now, choosing instead to give J.J. McCarthy every chance to win the job. And obviously he's drawn considerable interest from the Giants as well. And she said, could still consider retirement.
Okay. So this is, like I said, guys, if Rodgers is going to play, I think that he wants to make sure it's a good fit, and he's going to want to feel like that the team that he's going to has a chance to win,
Yep.
and has a chance to elevate his legacy within this game. All right? I think he wants to play in 2025, but I don't think he's going to play for a team that he thinks has no chance. So the question is, does he think the Steelers would have a chance with him at quarterback? And I think with the defensive talent that's here, Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig, Patrick Queen, Minka Fitzpatrick, Joey Porter Jr., now Darius Slay. You got some Deshaun Elliott. Like, this is a very talented defense. An offensive line that, 4 of the 5 projected starters were draft picks in the last 2 years. So, it's young and unproven, but very talented and promising. And then you've got a legit bona fide wide receiver duo right now in DK Metcalf and George Pickens. And with Rodgers' ability to throw the deep ball, I think that is a perfect wide receiver duo for him. And then you got Calvin Austin III and Roman Wilson, some pretty decent supplementary receivers. Pat Freiermuth is a top-end receiving tight end. And then you have Jaylen Warren, and then they're probably going to draft a running back. I saw something yesterday, Coop, where I think if you get Aaron Rodgers, I would love to draft Omarion Hampton out of North Carolina in round 1. Because you got Hampton, who is a powerful do-it-all back as your number 1 guy that's ready to be a star in this league from day 1, and you pair him up with Jaylen Warren. Like, this Steelers offense could legitimately go from one of the worst rushing offenses last year to one of the best in one season if you can bring in Hampton.
You have 2 running backs that you draft round 1, right? Genty and Hampton.
Yeah, Genty and Hampton are the 2 guys that I would consider in round 1 if I were the Steelers. Now, it's actually possible that both of them are off the board by the time the Steelers get to their pick at 21.
You think so?
Yes, because remember a couple seasons ago in the Bijan draft,
yeah,
everyone thought Jahmyr Gibbs, he was a really good running back, but he would probably go late round 1 or round 2. It's kind of the way people feel about Hampton right now, but Gibbs went 12 to the Detroit Lions, and he's been phenomenal. I see Omarion Hampton as a very, very similar type of player where he is ready to be a star right away, be a number 1 running back for an NFL team. So I would not be shocked at all if, like, the Denver Broncos took him just before the Steelers at 20. Would not shock me at all if the Dallas Cowboys take him at number 12.
Wouldn't shock me.
Wouldn't shock me at all. Now, I don't think Genty makes it to the Steelers at 21, but Hampton does have a chance, and if he makes it to the Steelers at 21, I would have to seriously, seriously consider taking him because the Steelers need a star running back.
Absolutely, man. The Steelers want to run the football. That is absolutely the facts of the matter. Whether they weren't able to do it last year at a very effective level. Najee had right around 4 yards per carry, which isn't good enough. I mean, I don't think it is. Najee wasn't good enough to the point where the Steelers didn't want to re-sign him. He ended up going to the Chargers. So the Steelers absolutely need a number 1 running back to try to elevate this run game. But at the same time, they also need their offensive line to elevate. And
to be clear, they can still get a good running back on day 2.
Yeah.
If they want. They could. But, like, the thing about the Steelers is that they want to have one of, if not the best rushing offense in the league. They want to be able to run the football even against a stacked box. They want to be able to run the football even when everybody in the building knows they're running the football. Teams like the Eagles can do that. Teams like the Ravens can do that. Teams like the 49ers when Christian McCaffrey is healthy can do that. The Steelers have not been able to do that for many seasons, even though that's been what they've been trying to establish. So the 2 ways that you're able to build a run game like that is A, you have a great offensive line. Like we talked about, the Steelers' offensive line is young and unproven, but it certainly has potential with all of the talent that they have and the young talent that they have brought in. All right, and the Steelers certainly believe in this offensive line. Then you need a legitimate star running back, all right? Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, someone along those lines. And, to get a Saquon, to get a Derrick Henry, to get a Josh Jacobs, to get a Christian McCaffrey in round 3 versus round 1 is a little bit less likely, all right? So I like a lot of the running backs that you could potentially get in round 3. DJ Giddens out of Kansas State, Quinshon Judkins out of Ohio State, Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. There's a lot of really good backs in this year's class, and there will be a good back available for the Steelers in round 3, but it won't be at the level of an Omarion Hampton, who could be a superstar in this league from day 1, in my opinion. So that's why I think that the running back position, if you can get a good value in round 1 on either Ashton Genty or Omarion Hampton, the only 2 guys I have round 1 grades on at the position this year, I would pull the trigger on it because this is something that the Steelers really want to establish on offense. And with a guy like Aaron Rodgers, somebody that's a little bit older in the building, you don't want Rodgers throwing it 50 times a game, all right? You want to have that balanced offense. You want Rodgers to feel like he's supported by a run game if he ends up signing here. And I think Hampton, along with Jaylen Warren, would be one of the best running back duos in the National Football League and would give the Steelers a chance to legitimately be a top 5 run game heading into the 2025 season. So that is where I'm at with the Steelers right now in terms of their first round selection. I could also see them going defensive tackle, obviously, especially if Kenneth Grant is still on the board. With him being a massive nose tackle, would love to see him. But at this point, obviously the pressing matter is getting Aaron Rodgers under contract here,
Absolutely.
Coop. So we'll see if that ends up happening.
We moved the desk down half an inch.
Yeah, sure. Good?
A little more.
Oh, my gosh. Good? Yep. Okay, cool. All right, so if you guys got questions, feel free to super chat and get those donations in, and we will make sure to get to your question, address any concerns that you have, and, we will just chop it up. Are we going to get into a cut here?
Yeah, I just put it in production that we're going to do one here shortly, so
okay, cool.
We'll get some people on that. Well, probably about 5-ish minutes or so, we'll get into a cut.
Sounds good. So in about 5 minutes, we'll be getting into a segment here, guys. We'll be breaking down the latest reporting. We'll be breaking down why I think that it's important for the Steelers to try and get this deal done as soon as possible. But I think the fact that he's visiting today, Coop, it's a Friday, just like last year, Russell Wilson visited on a Friday.
And then he signed on a Sunday.
And then he signed on Sunday night. So it could take a couple of days. We know Rodgers. Maybe he wants to, visualize the locker room, and then he wants to go and meditate on it. And, who knows what Rodgers' thought process is here.
Maybe he'll go out on Heinz Field by himself and just pretend like he's playing, has a helmet on.
I mean, I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised if they visit it today.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't.
I wouldn't be surprised if they visit Acrisure Stadium at some point today. But, I think that my prediction is he's a Steeler by Sunday, by the end of the weekend. That's my prediction. I hope it's today. I hope that Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan are able to work their magic enough to have him agree to sign on the dotted line today. And the thing that I really don't want to happen is for him to visit New York. I don't want that possibility. I would be stressing if he goes to New York.
I think he's going to visit New York, right? I mean, unless the Steelers ground every plane in Pittsburgh and they just try to keep him there, which maybe they do. I mean, I don't know, but if I had to guess right now, and I don't know anything, but I think he's going to visit the Giants. I guess we'll see, but
$2 from Tennyson Gray says, can we get a Manganai from Rutgers? He's a dog. He's expected to go probably early day 3.
For
maybe
those that don't know, who is he?
He's a running back from Rutgers.
Okay.
And he's fine. I don't think he's the running back that they're. Listen, man, he's a good player. I think they need a star, day 1 star. I don't think he's that. So there's a difference between getting an instant game changer at the position versus getting a good player at a position. The Steelers need an instant impact player, which is why I've been kind of saying the Steelers could absolutely be in on a first-round running back. And the reason for that is they believe in their offensive line. They spent a first-round pick on Broderick Jones, who's moving over to his natural position at left tackle. They believe he's going to play better at left than he played at right. They spent a first-round pick on Troy Fautano, who didn't play last year. And hopefully he can stay healthy throughout an entire season. Hopefully his knee isn't chronic. Then you got Mason McCormick, who the team still believes in. He was never supposed to play last year. People forget about that. He was supposed to spend the entire year developing to play right guard. But with James Daniels' injury, he had to go out there before he was ready, and that's why he looked bad. Hopefully after a full offseason, he becomes a true starting right guard in the National Football League. And then you got Zach Frazier, who is super solid. Isaac Seumalo has been a super solid left guard for many seasons. So the Steelers feel like that this offensive line is young and unproven, but it's very talented and promising, and they believe that this group is going to have a breakout season next year. So if you can pair that offensive line with the right running back, then they might have something here. Now, it's a big if, especially with Pat Meyer returning as this team's offensive line coach. But, if the Steelers are going to try to win now, they have to at least try to give themselves a chance from a roster perspective to make that happen.
Answer Justin here, and then we'll get into the cut.
Sounds good. $2 from Justin says, why would he pick Giants over Steelers? So, listen, man, I think that it's a pretty easy decision. If I were Aaron Rodgers, I'd want to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
We kind of just outlined that, Justin, but we can do it again. I mean, the Steelers, in short, for me, are in much better position to win a Super Bowl than the New York Giants are.
I mean, the Steelers have won 10 games over the last 2 seasons with defective offenses, ladies and gentlemen. If Aaron Rodgers thinks that he's still a really good quarterback and he thinks that he can be the answer at quarterback for the Steelers and this offense can be elevated by his play, then, like, in his mind, he would be like, man, I got one of the best defenses in football to supplement me. I've got a really good wide receiver duo here. I got one of the best coaches in football, and we know Aaron Rodgers loves Mike Tomlin as a head coach, and he definitely views him as an elite head coach in this league.
The Steelers won 10 games, and they had to fire their offensive coordinator mid-season.
Yes. So, like, if Rodgers can have a bounce-back season next year and the offensive line can develop the way that this team thinks it's going to develop, the Steelers absolutely can become potential Super Bowl contenders next year with Rodgers at quarterback, at least in my opinion. Now, the potential reasons why he would pick the Giants over the Steelers, Justin, is because maybe he really likes it in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Maybe he really likes his house. Maybe he really likes the area that he lives in. And then also, Malik Neighbors is a great player. Brian Daboll is an offensive head coach. Maybe Rodgers prefers to have an offensive head coach versus a defensive head coach, which is what he had with the New York Jets. Maybe he believes in the Giants' defense. They did add Javon Holland and Paulson Adebo this year. They have a really good pass rush. Maybe he believes in the Giants. I don't know. But at least from my perspective here, if I was choosing between the Steelers, who won 10 games last year with a pretty defective offense, if we're being completely honest with each other here, over the Giants, who won 3 games last year, and he'd have to completely turn things around, along with the fact that they're probably going to draft his replacement, number 3 overall in the NFL draft this year. I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. To me, it's Pittsburgh, which is why I think that Pittsburgh gets the first crack at a visit. So that's the answer right there, Justin. Okay, let's get into this cut right now here, guys. We're going to be breaking down all the latest reporting, getting you guys the very latest surrounding Aaron Rodgers. Thank you guys so much for being patient with us here. Keep getting those super chats in. We'll answer every single question that comes in. Again, $20 to get in on an Aaron Rodgers jersey raffle whenever Rodgers decides, hopefully, to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll be going live and giving away a Rodgers jersey when that happens. So make sure you guys get those $20 donations in. And Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal, you get double the raffle tickets. My information's down there in the description if you want to get your extra raffle ticket today. All right, let's get into this segment right now. Aaron Rodgers coming to the Steelers. Let's talk about it. Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and we have a developing story going on in the city of Pittsburgh right now as Aaron Rodgers, 4-time NFL MVP and Super Bowl champion and free agent quarterback that we've been waiting on for a while, is visiting the Pittsburgh Steelers facility today, meeting with staff, talking with head coach Mike Tomlin, GM Omar Khan, and owner Art Rooney II. Now, no deal is imminent as we are recording this video right now, but there are some that are indicating that a deal could potentially get done today, and if not today, then in the coming days over the weekend. Before we get into the latest reporting and breaking down what this could mean for the Pittsburgh Steelers moving forward, make sure you guys click that subscribe button, because when and if Aaron Rodgers decides to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers, we will be going live on this channel to discuss it, and we'll also be giving away an Aaron Rodgers Steelers jersey on that stream. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button, turn on those notifications, and of course, if the Steelers make any other moves outside of quarterback this offseason, we will also get you guys breaking news coverage. So make sure you click that subscribe button right now if you haven't already. And with that, let's get into the reporting here. And it all started with Gerry Dulac, your guys' favorite Pittsburgh Post-Gazette reporter, saying, breaking, Aaron Rodgers is at the Steelers facility today. An indication a deal with the team could be forthcoming per sources. Then he followed that up by saying sources have cautioned a commitment from Rodgers may not come today, if at all. And he is just visiting with team owner Art Rooney II, head coach Mike Tomlin, and general manager Omar Khan. Also, Adam Schefter from ESPN says Aaron Rodgers is visiting the Steelers' training facility today and meeting with their coaching staff, as Gerry Dulac reported. No deal at this time is close per source. Then Diana Rossini, who, by the way, her agent works for the same agency as Aaron Rodgers' agent, and she's been getting some pretty, kind of in-depth sourcing from Rodgers' team, says the plan in Pittsburgh is for Aaron Rodgers to visit with Steelers coaches. Pittsburgh has kept its offer open to the four-time MVP, and one source says it's possible an agreement is reached today. So it is possible, ladies and gentlemen, that Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers could come to an agreement today, and Rodgers could be the next starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I will point out here, guys, that I think it's significant that head coach Mike Tomlin and GM Omar Khan are not at Michigan's Pro Day today, especially with guys like Kenneth Grant and Will Johnson working out in Ann Arbor, two potential first-round draft targets for the Steelers. The fact that they're in Pittsburgh meeting with Rodgers, and then the fact that Rodgers made the trip from California cross-country to Pittsburgh to meet with the Steelers tells me that this is pretty significant. And then also the fact that he's deciding to meet with the Steelers first over the New York Giants probably lends credence to the fact that Pittsburgh is the preference for him at this stage in his decision-making. So you take a look here at his numbers over the last 4 seasons. Obviously, played 4 snaps in 2023 with a torn Achilles, came back from that torn Achilles last year, put up almost 4,000 yards passing, 28 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. Of course, finished his the season last year pretty strongly with the New York Jets once they got Davante Adams. But this is obviously somebody that is a multiple-time MVP, and this is somebody that head coach Mike Tomlin has a lot of respect for, and Rodgers has a lot of respect for the head coach here in Pittsburgh, which is why, from the very beginning here, I think that Mike Tomlin's number 1 quarterback target was Aaron Rodgers. Not Justin Fields, not Sam Darnold, not Russell Wilson, not anybody else. I think Rodgers has been Tomlin's primary target at this position from the word go. That's why early Monday morning on the first day of free agency, Adam Schefter reports Steelers targeting Aaron Rodgers. That's why apparently the Steelers didn't give a competitive offer for Sam Darnold. That's why they only offered Justin Fields Daniel Jones level money. If they really believed in Justin Fields as their next starting quarterback, guys, and their quarterback of the future, they would have easily matched what the New York Jets were offering, which was $20 million per season. And if they needed to pay up even more than the Jets, they would have done that if they truly believed in Justin Fields. I believe Mike Tomlin believes Aaron Rodgers is still a high-end quarterback option for his football team and gives Cam Hayward and the rest of this Steelers roster a chance to win a Super Bowl over the next 2 seasons. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Will Aaron Rodgers sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers today? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comments section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. So for me, guys, when it comes to the question of whether I think this is a good idea or not, I've been saying for weeks that I was open-minded, and then the more I thought about it, the more I liked the idea of Aaron Rodgers becoming the next starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Even at 41 years old, he's going to be 41 this year, I think that Aaron Rodgers can still have success here with the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially if they can surround him with a better supporting cast than what they were able to put around Russell Wilson last year. And there is historical precedent, guys, of older quarterbacks switching teams in their 40s and still having massive success with their other football clubs. You take a look here, first at Brett Favre in 2008. All right, you compare the numbers between the final seasons for Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre with the New York Jets. Rodgers' numbers were actually better than Favre's. I mean, just look at that 4.2% interception percentage for Brett Favre in that season. A lot of people said his career was absolutely over. Another guy that Rodgers performed better than, an older quarterback in this final season with a previous team, is Tom Brady with the New England Patriots, who only completed about 60% of his passes in the final year in Foxborough. Of course, the only stat category there where Brady outperformed Rodgers last year was the interception percentage. All right, so Rodgers' season last year was not as bad as some of the other quarterbacks that we have talked about. And then Brady and Favre ended up having phenomenal seasons with their new teams. All right, Brett Favre got the Vikings one play away from a Super Bowl. Tom Brady, at 43 years old, was able to win a Super Bowl with his new team and win 2 more division championships on top of that in the next 2 years. So to say that an older quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, who still has his arm strength with him, who still has his arm talent with him, who still has his football intelligence with him, can't still have success. I think it's a silly argument to say that. Now, can I say it, with a straight face that Rodgers has a 100% chance of replicating the success of Favre and Brady? No, I can't guarantee you that. But at this stage in the game, with the options left on the table for the Pittsburgh Steelers, in a win-now mindset, you got 2 years to get Cam Hayward a ring. All right, we've seen the historical precedents with Brett Favre and Tom Brady, 40-plus-year-old quarterbacks, going to new teams and helping them compete for Super Bowls. I think if your goal right now is to try and win a Lombardi trophy and put a ring on Cam Hayward's finger before he retires in 2 years, out of the options still available, I don't think it's close. Aaron Rodgers is the best avenue for the Pittsburgh Steelers to go down. And if he fails, he fails. You fire Mike Tomlin, you blow it all up, and you embrace a rebuild. I think that this is the correct course of action for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if I am head coach Mike Tomlin, if I am owner Art Rooney, if I am GM Omar Khan, I am doing whatever I can do to get this guy under contract before he can go to New York and visit with the New York Giants. I don't want to take that risk. It doesn't necessarily have to be today when he's in the building, but at least come to an agreement before he can go to a different building and potentially sign with another team. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. What's the percent chance that Rodgers becomes a Steeler this year? Put it on a scale of 0 to 100 for me down there in the comment section. I think at this point, I think that there's some pretty shared interest here. I think that the meeting is going to go well, all these different things. I'm going to give it around a 95 or above % chance that he picks the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's always a chance that the meeting doesn't go well or that he goes and visits New York and it's an awesome visit that they just can't refuse to sign a contract with them. But I think at this point, all signs are pointing to Aaron Rodgers being the next starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And yes, Steelers Nation, I think that is a good thing. Now, before I go here, I do want to share some final thoughts on Aaron Rodgers potentially signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think that this is exactly the move that this team needs to make. All right, like this team, plain and simply, guys, has been living in mediocrity for many years at this point. We all know it. 9-win seasons, 10-win seasons, not winning division championships, settling for wild card spots, and then getting blown out in the playoffs. All right, if they don't get Aaron Rodgers and they don't bring it back Russell Wilson, and you're stuck with Mason Rudolph and like a rookie quarterback, in a win-now season for this team, like what's the best-case scenario? That you're maintaining a level of mediocrity and Mike Tomlin once again elevates a team that doesn't have a good quarterback to a 10-win season and then they lose in the playoffs in the first round again? At least with Aaron Rodgers, it's a little bit more boom or bust. There's a legitimate chance that he booms and becomes, bounces back like Brett Favre and Tom Brady were able to do, and this team is competing for Super Bowls. But there's also a chance that Rodgers is just absolutely terrible, and, Mike Tomlin has his first losing season, and then, at that point, you can pretty much blow it up. You can trade Cam Hayward, give him a chance to win with a competitor in 2026 before he retires. Trade T.J. Watt and let somebody else pay $40 million for him. Trade Minkah Fitzpatrick. Get a new quarterback in the 2026 NFL draft. I think that, it's almost like a win-win scenario for the Pittsburgh Steelers, where it's like if Rodgers comes in and plays well, yeah, this team is back to competing for Super Bowls again. But if he stinks and he's awful and he's a disaster and he ruins Mike Tomlin's culture in Pittsburgh, then it can be like almost like a cleansing fire that allows this team to finally move on from the Tomlin era and start something fresh with a new starting quarterback by taking a new quarterback in round 1 of the 2026 NFL draft. And of course, the location of that draft is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That'll be it for today's show, guys. Thank you so much for all of your support. We will get you guys updates on Aaron Rodgers all throughout the day, all throughout the weekend. I do think that there's a pretty darn good chance that Rodgers will sign to be the next starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers in the hours or days to come. So make sure you click that subscribe button right now. And until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers. All right, our cut is done. Dilly Dilly, my favorite nickname in the entire office is on our cut. That will be on the channel here soon.
So if I had to put a percentage on whether or not he's going to be a Steeler, I'd put it at 85% he's a Steeler.
You're giving the Giants a 15% chance, huh?
I'll give Giants 15 because we don't know if they're meeting yet.
Yeah, but even if they meet, I just don't.
I think 85 is pretty high.
I just don't know. I just don't know how Rodgers can do a full analysis of these two teams and say the New York Giants have a better chance to win with them. Like, I don't know, man. Like, unless money is important to him and the Steelers are offering him, like, significantly less money.
Would that surprise you if money was important to him, though?
I mean, a little bit, because, like, if he wants to win right now, like, listen, Coop, he's made more money than any player in the history of the National Football League.
Yes, he has.
He's got more money than God. What he doesn't have is that second Super Bowl championship that he's been chasing for many seasons. And, like, if he's going to go to the New York Giants for the money, that's kind of it's a hack kind of move to me. I don't know. I'd be pissed if he went to the Giants. I'd be pissed. They won 3 games last year, less than the Jets.
I'll say this. When everyone in the world zigs, Aaron Rodgers zags. So nothing would surprise me at this point.
But that's
I
why
don't think he's going to the
But that's why I give the
Giants.
Giants a 5% chance, because it's like the 5% Aaron Rodgers is a Coop kind of tax right there. But, like, I think any sound mind looking at the situations between Pittsburgh and New York, with all due respect to our Giants host, Marshall Green.
They're picking the Steelers.
I mean, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
All right? Like, whereas the Giants, like, they have some pieces that could be good. Theo Johnson's got some potential. Wan'Dale Robinson's got some potential.
Neighbors is great.
Tyrone Tracy could be really good. Malik Neighbors is already phenomenal. But, like, you don't know if Brian Dable is going to have more than one season there in New York. You don't know if they're going to draft your replacement immediately in Shedeur
Sanders. And by
Sanders.
the way, you want to talk about some stinky offensive line?
Yeah. You got
the New York Football Giants have an awful offensive line.
No, they got a good left tackle. I will say that they Andrew Thomas is way better than Broderick Jones.
Is.
Okay, so from the left tackle perspective, I think the Giants have an advantage. But, like, you look at the weapons, all right? You got Malik Neighbors, who's a great piece, but then you got Darius Slayton as your number 2. You've got Wan'Dale Robinson as your number 3. You don't have much after that. You got Theo Johnson, a second-year tight end that did nothing last year, as your number 1 tight end. All right, you got Tyrone Tracy, who's a decent player, but he has a big fumbling issue as your running back. And then, like, what are we going to do here? You're going to throw it 40, 50 times like you did with the Jets last year? How'd that work out for you? And you only have one weapon to throw to. Here with the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're going to draft a running back really early. All right, so he's not going to even have to throw it 40, 50 times a game. He's going to be able to do his thing. He's going to be able to, live in play action. He's going to be able to live under center and throw the deep ball to DK Metcalf and George Pickens. All right, are you taking only Malik Neighbors, or are you taking DK Metcalf and George Pickens?
I'll take DK and GP.
Not even close.
Which, speaking of, I don't even know how to say this name, but he says, I'll go with Slicksers. He says, can we stop with the George Pickens getting traded rumors? I kind of agree, especially if they get Rodgers. I think the GP trade rumors will be dead because they're going to want to put the maximum amount of weapons around Rodgers as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the conversations today is if Rodgers goes there, he's like, I don't want you to trade Pickens.
Literally.
That's part of the deal probably with Rodgers is I want him on the team. And listen, man, I would take one season of George Pickens and let him walk versus trading him for a 5th-round pick right now, which is what I think you'd get for him.
Yeah, I agree.
I think George Pickens is worth at least a 2nd-round pick in terms of his talent right now.
Well, and also,
but like the punctuality issues, the fighting issues, the effort issues, plus the fact that the team trading for him is going to have to pay him, all that stuff drives down his value.
And if he walks, the Steelers would get a comp pick.
Yeah, and the Steelers would get a comp pick if George Pickens leaves next year. And, I think that the Steelers can absolutely replace him next year, especially if they have a successful season this year.
Agreed.
And if there's an open number 2 wide receiver spot, there's going to be free agent wide receivers that are begging to come play with Aaron Rodgers for his final season of his career if they sign him to a 2-year deal. Now, that's the other thing, Coop. I've been hearing guys like Gerry Dulac and others say that the Steelers are only going to offer Rodgers a 1-year contract. I think he wants a 2-year deal. And I think if he wants a 2-year deal,
the Steelers are going to have to give it to him.
It makes more sense for him to have that 2-year deal here in Pittsburgh than it does in New York. Because in New York, they're going to be probably drafting a quarterback in the first 2 rounds to replace him eventually.
And their regime is probably on the very last legs.
Yes, exactly. So you just don't. The future there is so up in the air. But I think here in Pittsburgh, they can commit to him for 2 more seasons because they're on a 2-year timeline right now.
Exactly.
They've got 2 years to get Cam Hayward a ring. So I think the Steelers can absolutely give Aaron Rodgers a 2-year commitment here if that's what he's wanting. I have a feeling that Gerry Dulac, surprise, surprise, is going to be wrong again. And I think if Rodgers signs here, it's going to be on a 2-year deal. Now, maybe there's not a whole lot of guarantees in that second year, but I think the Steelers would probably give him a 2-year deal if he's willing to accept that. Sixers, $2, says, can we stop? Oh, never mind. We just talked about that. I agree, though, Sixers. I don't want George Pickens gone. Byron, $2, says, what about taking Rashad Owens, running back?
That is. I won't lie to you.
I'm not. Listen, man, I keep saying this at the running back position. Like, we got to stop trying to find, like, the late round gem.
Go get the star.
Go get the stud. Go get the person that's, like, the sure thing.
Oh, by the way, Baylor up 1 with 30 seconds left.
Oh, yes. There's some March Madness going on right now. But, you know, I think I would be surprised if the Steelers don't take a running back by the end of round 3. I think you got to go running back in the first 2 days at least. And if you have a chance to get Ashton Genty or Omarion Hampton in round 1, I don't know if that's an opportunity you can pass up, especially if you have Aaron Rodgers in the building.
Absolutely agree.
So let's see here. Baylor, Mississippi State. Who'd you take here, Coop?
I took Baylor in this one.
I took Mississippi State, so I'm hoping that...
Oh,
they got
That's
trapped.
5! Yes!
Yes! Turnover! But they have possession.
Oh, did they call it jump ball?
They called a jump
I
ball.
thought they called a 5.
Well, he passed the line, clearly.
No, I know, but he was trapped in the corner. So if you're stayed still for 5, that's still a 5-second violation.
So it's still Baylor ball. They got a foul. The clock is off, dude. What are they doing?
Jesus.
9.3 seconds left.
That was awful. We'll get to the Venmo here in just a moment.
Sounds good. Lance Allen, $5.
Yeah.
We also have a new update from Tom Pelissero. So before I get to your question, Lance, let's see what Pelissero had to say. Aaron Rodgers was in the Steelers facility this morning. My understanding was this was kind of a last-minute type of thing. Aaron Rodgers came to the facility. He spent some time with coaches. He's been talking to people in the organization for a while now, and there's certainly been a lot of signs that he is seriously considering playing his 21st NFL season in Pittsburgh. This is the first time, though, that Aaron Rodgers has taken an actual visit to a team. You know, obviously with the conversations and the revelations a few days ago that the Vikings were not going to be pursuing Aaron Rodgers at this time, that honed in his options very clearly on the Steelers and the Giants. Pittsburgh, for a variety of different reasons, would seem to make the most sense, though the Giants have continued to have a dialogue with Rodgers and agent Dave Dunn, and today was another step. Now, what I can tell you is, what I was told, there is no deal done. There is no deal imminent. It's not like he was coming in to sign. He popped in, he spent time with coaches, spent time around the facility here. This does set the table, though, for Rodgers to potentially make a decision and, in turn, then set off the rest of the dominoes across the quarterback market. So
Who was that from again?
That is from Tom Pelissero, who just went on the Rich Eisen show to talk about the latest surrounding Rodgers. So essentially what I'm getting from that, guys, is Rodgers, kind of last minute, said, I'm coming to Pittsburgh. I'm going to, visit the facility. I'm going to talk with coaches, all that stuff. And my prediction here, Coop, Rodgers, Khan, Tomlin all go to dinner tonight. And they go to the best Pittsburgh blue they could possibly find.
Not Primanti Bros?
No, I think they go to the nicest steakhouse in the city of Pittsburgh. They wine and they dine him, and they talk about how they think that he can be the quarterback that puts the Steelers over the top and gives them their record 7th Lombardi trophy. And for him to have a statue outside of Acrisure Stadium.
Chill.
I think that they're going to lay that vision out in front of him. We already know that Rodgers loves, and by the way, I didn't answer Lance's question, so I'll get to that. It says, I'd love to hear Rodgers say he would only sign if GP also got a new deal, but QB wouldn't want 2 monster targets.
I don't think that'll happen, only because
I agree.
Rodgers has 2 years left in his career at max.
Yeah.
GP has maybe 10 years left.
Yeah,
so their timelines don't add up, and
it's not like Rodgers and GP are tight like that.
Exactly.
It's not like he's going to stick his neck out for George Pickens at this point.
He's not going to leverage George Pickens. He's like, oh, if you don't extend Pickens, I'm not signing here. He's just not going to do that.
Yeah. So if you're hoping that happens, Lance, I'd say don't hold your breath on that. $5 from Interstellar Reaper. Cool name there. $5 says, how much better is Aaron Rodgers really going to be than year 2 Russell Wilson? I've said this on the show a lot, guys. I think Rodgers is better than Russ because of 2 specific reasons. All right, number 1, I think that he gets the ball out faster than Russell Wilson does, and that's just bared out by the average time to throw numbers. And then as a result, he takes less sacks than Russell Wilson does. So you can expect less sacks from Aaron Rodgers than Russell Wilson if he's the quarterback of the Steelers next year. And I think that, if you take less sacks as an offense, you have a better chance of staying on track. You take a look at Aaron Rodgers in a Nathaniel Hackett offense versus Russell Wilson in a Nathaniel Hackett offense, and Rodgers clearly was the better quarterback. Now, obviously, I think you can probably say Rodgers had better weapons than Wilson did last year in New York than what Wilson had in Denver during that 2022 season. But, comparing these 2 numbers, it certainly indicates that Rodgers, even last year, was better than Russ was even just a couple of years ago when he was still with the Denver Broncos playing under the worst offensive play caller in football since Matt Canada got fired, Nathaniel Hackett. So I think that Rodgers gets the ball out faster, which means that the team won't take as many sacks, which means less 3rd and long situations. And then I also think that Rodgers is a better post-snap processor where he more consistently gets to his 2nd, 3rd, and 4th reads within a full field progression than Russell Wilson does. Wilson is excellent on his first read. All right, if he is hitting the back of his back foot, letting it rip to his first read down the field, there's arguably no better quarterback in the National Football League at that. The problem is you're not going to be having your first read wide open all the time. All right, you're going to have to get to your 2nd, 3rd, and 4th read consistently if you want to be able to be a higher level performer at the position, or you have to be able to get outside the pocket and make plays out of structure. And Russell Wilson, frankly, isn't at the level he used to be in his career at doing that. So you look at the average time to throw numbers last year, Aaron Rodgers ranked 6th. All right, this is like a Tom Brady number right here, guys, where he's getting the ball out fast. All right, not taking a lot of sacks as a result. Russell Wilson was 28th in this number at 2.82 last year. And as a result, you guys can take a look at the sack numbers. Aaron Rodgers had a significantly lower sack number than Russell Wilson. And what that means is, you take less negative yardage. You're not in, dire situations like 3rd and 10 plus as often as the Steelers were last year. And your offense can theoretically stay on track for longer. So I think that those are the 2 ways Rodgers upgrades Russell Wilson. But as I've said throughout this process, guys, if the Steelers miss out on Aaron Rodgers and they decide to turn back to Russell Wilson and he's this team's starter next year, especially now that DK Metcalf is here, I think it'd be perfectly fine. I think it'd be perfectly fine with Aaron if Russell Wilson ended up being this team's starting quarterback next year. But I think that the upside and the ceiling on this team is a little bit higher than what it is with Aaron Rodgers compared to what it would be with Russell Wilson. So that's why I would personally be pursuing Aaron Rodgers at this point. Steelers Dad, my friend, he is in.
Shout out Steelers Dad.
2 raffle entries from my man, Steelers Dad. Let's see what he had to say on his Venmo. He says, I feel if he flew in, he is here to sign. So sometimes that's the case, Steelers Dad. But remember, last year, Russell Wilson flew in. He visited. He spent all day visiting with Arthur Smith and Mike Tomlin and everybody in the Steelers building. He spent all day to kind of craft a vision for the offense. Then he went back to his house, to his place, and he mulled it over for a couple of days. And he decided on Sunday night, the night before free agency, all right, let's do this thing. Vet minimum to the Steelers. So it is possible that you can go visit a team and then not sign with that team. Now, apparently, according to Pelissero, he's already left the building. So if that's the case, then he's already left the building without a deal. But like I said, I think he's going to be in Pittsburgh. I don't think he's flying back to California today. I think he's probably going to have dinner with Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan. Because if it was just a morning visit, Coop, I don't know if Mike and Omar would have left Michigan
If Aaron Rodgers says, Omar and Mike, you have to do ayahuasca with me or I'm not signing, are they doing it?
I think they do it.
I think so, too.
I think Tomlin would say immediately yes, and Khan would be like, I don't know. Okay, I'll do it. But, but don't ask Cam Hayward to go on a darkness retreat, though. He ain't doing that. $2 from my man Byron. Says Rashad Owens from OKSU. Dude's a stud.
So Rashad Owens is a receiver from Oklahoma State. I'm not familiar with him, if I'm being completely honest with you. In 2024, he had 32 receptions for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Listen, man, he's a day 3 prospect.
Is he a UDFA?
And listen, man, everybody's got their sleepers. Everybody has their players on day 3 that they love. So maybe he is a stud, Byron. Like I'm not necessarily discounting you, but what I'm saying is I think that getting the running back position is too important. Getting that position right is too important to kind of risk it on a day 3 draft pick to fix it. So that's what I would respond to that with. I would want something a little bit more for sure than Rashad Owens, but that's just me. It's cool if you disagree, but personally, I think the Steelers are probably going to be taking a running back within the first 2 days of the draft, and I think Owens probably ends up going day 3, which kind of takes him out of the running, at least in my opinion. Oh, no. Shit!
No way.
Man, so...
Not a big deal.
It's not a big deal. It's not Aaron Rodgers related, but my preferred swing tackle for the Steelers this year, Trent Brown, is signing with the Houston Texans. So another signing for the Texans.
How many players can they have?
They
just have up to 90.
They just signed Cam Robinson.
I know.
What the hell, man? Save some for the rest of us, Houston. Listen, man, with the Steelers not signing a swing tackle yet, they better feel pretty fucking sure that Broderick Jones is going to be good next year.
You probably just gave the 920 people that are watching a heart attack.
Yeah, that's true.
Carl Spackler with the 5. He said, been saying this for a while. Rodgers' IQ and release time can offset some offensive line issues and Tomlin's silly hands in offense that other QBs could not. Agreed. Rodgers can mask a lot of issues.
Yeah, and, I want to make this abundantly clear, too. You're not bringing in Aaron Rodgers to, save the day. You're not bringing him in to, be an MVP of the league. If he does that, great. But, the Steelers still want to be a team where they're a run-first team. They want to be like the Eagles. They want to be like the Eagles, where it's a great run game with a great offensive line, which this offensive line does have the potential to be. They've got extremely talented players all across the offensive line. It's just a matter of developing them properly. And if you bring in Rodgers and that offensive line develops and you get the right running back, that means that you have one of the best rushing offenses in the league paired with a quarterback that throws one of the greatest deep balls in the history of the game.
Absolutely.
With DK Metcalf and George Pickens. Plus, you got a guy in Rodgers that gets the ball out fast, doesn't take sacks, doesn't turn the football over, won't lose you football games. I think that the path for the Steelers to be legitimate Super Bowl contenders becomes open if Rodgers is their quarterback. Now, it's very possible that Rodgers just sucks next year and loses his arm strength and he's not good at all and he's a complete disaster. All that's possible. But if that's the case, like I talked about, you're firing Tomlin. You're starting over. You're finally embracing a full rebuild if that's the case. So I think that Rodgers is probably the best thing for both worlds. If you want to embrace a rebuild, all right, let's go with Rodgers. If he sucks, you get your rebuild next year because they're not doing it this year. But if he's good, then boom, back in Super Bowl contention, which is where everybody in this fan base eventually wants to be. $10, Brandon Nicholson says, I'm thinking I'm finally on board with Aaron. Do you think he throws a fit if we draft a quarterback round 3 like he did in Green Bay? I have a feeling he's aware he's on his way out of the league, so I hope not. So I think there's a difference between drafting a quarterback in round 1 and trading up for a quarterback in round 1 like the Packers did with Jordan Love versus, a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers. The Steelers draft a guy, especially if it's like Jalen Milroe. Because I think Rodgers understands Milroe's not ready to play. Milroe's not ready to play for at least a year, probably 2 years. And he might be a plan down the line, but make no mistake, man. If the Steelers bring in Rodgers, he is their plan at starting quarterback, and he's not coming out. All right, he's not coming out until he retires. That's pretty much the way it goes with him if he's here. So I think he'd be perfectly fine if the Steelers draft especially like a Jalen Milroe, a developmental type quarterback in round 3, because if they trade up for Jackson Dart in round 1, that might be something else. But I don't think that's going to happen.
No way.
There's no way. There's no way that happens if they end up getting Rodgers. So I wouldn't worry about it too much, Brandon. I think that if they do draft a quarterback in round 3, it'll probably be like Jalen Milroe, which is a developmental guy. So I don't think that really challenges Rodgers' status as QB1 of this team. So are we going to that graphic
do you
next?
Want to?
Yeah, let's do it. Why not?
Okay.
All right, so let's shift our focus here, guys, to the NFL draft. Who do you want the Pittsburgh Steelers to take in round 1? I've got a list of names that I would like, Coop.
You're on the board at 21 right now. Who is your number 1 target?
My number 1 target would be Ashton Genty, if he's there.
Yep, I agree.
If Ashton Genty's there, you take him. I just think he's the most for sure thing to be like a day 1 starting star running back that you can get in this class. And like we talked about on this show, the Steelers are banking on getting that type of player. So the more sure thing you can get at the position, the better, as far as I'm concerned. If that's going to be a big sticking point for this team this year, which it is. So if you can get Ashton Genty, he'd be number 1. I honestly think Omarion Hampton might be 2 for me.
Really?
He's that good.
So if Hampton and let's say a Kenneth Grant are both there at 21.
It's close because I love Kenneth Grant. But here's
I think I'm going Hampton too.
But here's the thing. Kenneth Grant's a nose tackle.
He is.
There's multiple good run-stuffing nose tackles in this class, and you can get one in round 3. And you can get a guy in round 3 to start for you at nose tackle if you need.
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, absolutely. You're not getting an Omarion Hampton in round 3.
No. Doesn't exist.
You might get a really good running back in round 3. It's a great running back class. You might even fall, maybe Caleb Johnson falls to you in round 3. That would be phenomenal. Maybe Quinshon Judkins falls to you in round 3. He would be a really good pickup. DJ Giddens would be a good pick in round 3. Cam Scatterbo could be a good pick in round 3. But Omarion Hampton is so well-rounded. Just to put in perspective how good Omarion Hampton was last year, Coop, he had over 1,200 yards after contact last year. He had a full season's worth of yardage after contact for most guys last year. After contact. So this is somebody that breaks tackles, great acceleration, big playability, but also has the ability to wear down a defense throughout the course of a game.
Do you have a pro comp?
Joe Mixon?
Ooh, okay.
Or Josh Jacobs. I really like I like both. If you can add a Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon type of player to your offense on a team that's trying to be one of, if not the best rushing offense in the league, you do it, in my opinion, especially with how much faith and belief this team has in their young offensive line. So we'll see. But I think that the 2 top running backs would be my top 2 round 1 targets, especially if you bring in Aaron Rodgers. And then after that, I'd probably say Kenneth Grant is the position player after running back. Then I would probably have Jahdae Barron and Malachi Starks as potential nickel players.
Go check out. Have you posted?
No.
Okay, never mind.
No.
Just kidding.
I think Malachi Starks is somebody that's not being talked about enough because I think he's falling down draft boards, but he is an awesome football player.
Would he play opposite Minka?
He'd play in the slot.
Okay.
Because at Georgia, they have their safeties play everywhere. They have him play center field. They have him play split field coverage. They have him play in the box, and they have him play in the slot. Do you remember Tyke Smith last year?
Of course.
Tyke Smith was one of my Sperry Psychos last year that I loved. He was a safety from Georgia as well, and he was awesome for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year. He was one of the best nickel defenders in the league, alongside, of course, another rookie defender played in the nickel, Cooper DeJean, who was the number 1 graded corner in all of football last year as a rookie. So I think that the Steelers, the one piece to their defense that they're kind of missing, along with the nose tackle, in my opinion, is a really good nickel defender. And Malachi Starks, to me, can be a Brian Branch level player at that position, be a Cooper DeJean type of level player at that position. So I really like Malachi Stark. So I also really like Jahdae Barron, his versatility to play in the slot or on the outside. Lance says Genty if available. I agree. I don't think he'll be available. I think he'll go top 10 somewhere, whether that's the Raiders or whether that's Chicago. And honestly, yeah, I think the chances of him getting to 21 is not great. But Genty would be number one on my list. Brandon Nicholson, $2, says Omarion Hampton, then Milroe. So I think he's talking about Hampton in round 1, then draft Milroe in round 3 would be his plan. I'd be okay with that, but who are you getting on the defensive line, though? That's the thing. That's why I said earlier in the show that I would rather trade down from 21 if you're going to take Milroe in the third round. Because, the two positions in my mind that the Steelers absolutely, or three positions actually, that they absolutely need to address in this year's draft, slot corner, running back, and nose tackle.
Real quick.
Yeah.
What do you want this title to be for the VOD?
Developing. What do you think? Aaron Rodgers visits Pittsburgh Steelers. And then Barr.
Steelers QB rumors.
I was thinking something like, is Rodgers finally coming to Pittsburgh or finally signing with the Steelers? Something like that. I trust you to come up with a good title, but developing in all caps, : is probably what I want to start. Got some super chats we're going to get to here in just a moment. Just a reminder that we're doing a $20 jersey raffle. So if you put in $20 in a donation, whether that's on Super Chat, Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal, we're going to be giving away an Aaron Rodgers Steelers jersey if he ends up signing with the Steelers. And then if he signs with the Giants, we'll give away a DK Metcalf jersey. All right. But we're going to be giving away a Steelers jersey no matter what. So if you want to enter into that raffle, you can send in a $20 donation. And if you want 2 raffle tickets, you have to Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal. All my information for that is down in the description below. I am at Jack Sperry on Venmo, # Captain Jack 19 on Cash App, or at Captain Jack Rabbit on PayPal. Again, that information is down in the description if you want to get 2 raffle tickets for the Aaron Rodgers jersey. And, of course, we're taking questions throughout Aaron Rodgers' watch here on Steelers Talk Live, and hopefully they can come to some sort of agreement today. If not, we'll be waiting all weekend to see if Rodgers ends up signing with the black and gold. In my opinion, it really is just a matter of time. I just don't see how he can pick the New York Giants over the Steelers. I don't get it.
CJ Ross says, Kenneth Grant, we need to stop the run.
I agree, man, but there's some really good run stuffers in this class you can get on day 2 or even early day 3 in round 4 if you really need to. So I think you make a good point there, CJ. We do need to stop the run. I think getting a legit nose tackle is very important for that to be a reality. But the Steelers also need to run the football better. They need to do both those things. So for them to get to where they want to be as a rushing offense, they need to get a star-level running back. And I think that's harder to find than just a capable run stuffer at nose tackle. So that's why I would personally prioritize running back over nose tackle. That's my logic there. $5 from Anthony Fuller. We're not worthy. King Yinzer, my friend.
Shout out King Yinzer.
What are your thoughts on us getting Jaden Blue in the 4th? I think it's way too early for Jaden Blue.
He's probably a 6th, 7th round pick.
The thing about Jaden is he has a fumble issue.
He does.
And he only ran 4.4, which is it's fast.
But it's not what we thought he'd run.
It's not what we thought he'd run. It's not what he thought he would run.
Yeah.
He said he was going to break Worthy's record.
Isaiah Bond said, I'm going to break the record. And then Jaden Blue says, so am I.
And then they both run 4.4. And it's Jaden.
If you're going to say that, you have to run at least close to it.
Also, I think Jaden is very redundant with Jaylen Warren because he's a 3rd down back, in my opinion.
No, he is. He is a 3rd down back, and he is a decent receiving back as well. So he could play that role, but
yeah, but the Steelers need an every down, kind of back that's going to wear down an opposing
No,
defense.
that's not him.
And that's not Jaden Blue.
I've watched every snap of Jaden Blue at Texas, and last year was his first year as the number one running back, and there were a couple of games where he got benched by Steve Sarkisian because he couldn't hang on to the football, and he just didn't do the things in the fourth quarter that you need a running back to do to win the game. So does he have a role in the NFL? I think he does, but is he an every down back? What the Steelers need? I don't think so.
Yeah, this is why I think they got to go running back earlier, because you need somebody with a combination of size, power, vision, speed, big playability. You need a well-rounded back to execute the vision for this offense that this team has. $10 from John Masood, my man, says, Jack Sperry, Cassie Voth, Coop, no ticket required. John, we appreciate you, my man. You know what? He's put in 2 tens.
We'll give him one.
No. Let's give away one.
Okay.
Because he doesn't want stuff. So we're going to give away a free raffle entry right now. Spam those me's in the chat if you want a free raffle entry for this Aaron Rodgers jersey. Spam those me's. Coop's giving shout-outs while I rehydrate.
Coop's giving shout-outs. I see Hot Rod Father dismiss John Masood. Wait, John Masood, you sent me and you said you didn't want a ticket.
He's just helping us
Is
out.
he trolling?
He's just helping out.
I see FaZe, Psycho, Russell, Jake, Luke, Jason, Hot Rod, DJ KJ, Big Bird, Paranormal, FaZe, Fornelius? What a name.
Cornelius.
Jason Davis, Nikki, and 10,
9, 8, 7, 6, 5,
5,
4, 3, 2, 1. Who you got, Coop?
I am going
Don't say
with
John Masood. Don't say John Masood.
Elevate LTs.
Elevate LTs. You are in on the raffle, my friend.
As is Grant A.
Grant A is in as well. $20 says jersey time. Thank you, gentlemen.
Best of luck to you, Grant.
Thank you, Grant. Best of luck to you. Make sure you tune in whenever Aaron Rodgers makes his decision.
Indeed.
$2 from Shady. Says, are we trading Pickens? I hope not. I hope not too, Shady.
I also don't think so.
If I had to guess right now, I would say no. Now, Gerry Dulac, this is good news. Dulac says he thinks he's getting traded this offseason.
Oh, so that means he's staying.
So that means he's staying, all right? Because last year he said 100% chance Deontay Johnson would be back, gets traded a day later.
Later.
So I think that Pickens will be back, and I think he should be back, all right? And I think he'd love to play with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I do too.
He said in a previous interview that his dream teammate would be Aaron Rodgers. Dream teammate. And that might become a reality for him here in the next couple hours. Like, that's awesome for George Pickens, man. We got $20, I believe it's a Cash App here from my man, DJ KJ, my man. He says, is there a message here? Let me check. I do not see a message. All right, so we are good. DJ KJ, you are in, my friend. Hoping I'm not missing these messages. Robert Locke says, for gift raffle to chat, saying thanks for all you do. So is he saying give away this?
What did he say?
Robert Locke sent in a 20 and says, for gift raffle to chat, saying thanks for all you do.
Give one away.
All right, I guess we're giving away a raffle entry here. Actually, 2 since it's the Venmo. So let's give away 2 more raffle entries here. Spam those me's.
Your turn to give away one. I'll give away one. You give away one.
Spam those me's if you want a free raffle entry, courtesy of our friend Robert Locke. We got DJ KJ in there. He's already in there. We've got Varys. We got Carl. We got Kevin. We got Luke. We got Martin. We've got Taylor. We got William. We've got Jalen. We've got Wavy. We've got Eddie. We've got Chris, Michael, Byron, Gerry, Wavy, Corey, Jack. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to give this one to Gary Reynolds. Gary. Wait, who are you giving yours to here, Coop?
I am going with Zach 412.
Zach412, you are in, my friend. Thank you to Robert Locke for donating those 2 stickers. And we'll continue to answer your questions throughout the day here, guys. We'll stay alive for a little bit longer at least. $20 from Father Dismas. He's in on the raffle. Thank you, Father. This is for your Rodgers overtime bonus and a ticket. Father, you are in.
Appreciate you, Father.
On the raffle?
I did not know that FR period was Father.
Yes, it is. I grew up Catholic, and I was.
I did not.
I grew up in a. I did Catholic school all the way through. So
even through high school.
Even through high school.
Oh, wow.
Even through half my college years too.
Did you have to wear a uniform?
I did have to wear a uniform.
A tie?
And not a tie, thank God. But we had to wear a polo, and we had to wear khakis, and couldn't have any crazy designs on the shoes. You know, we did have a little bit. And then in high school, we had a little bit more leniency. We just had to wear a collared shirt and no jeans or shorts. So, actually, you could do shorts in the summer because, Minnesota summers, they can actually get pretty hot. $5 from Anthony Fuller says, could we think about Ewers at 185? Coop, your thoughts?
That'd be sick. I read a report today that the Seahawks were considering him in day 2.
Well, he's not worth that. So if they take him in day 2, they can suck a dick.
Here's my thing. As the resident Texas Longhorns fan, if Ewers showed consistency over any of his past 3 seasons, he would have been a first-round pick in this draft.
That's why over literally the last 4 seasons, preseason mock drafts, all had him in round 1. Every year before the season began, first round, Quinn Ewers. Then at the end of the season,
he has to come back to school.
He has to come back to school.
Yeah,
and it's like he was surrounded by such a good supporting cast.
He was.
Steve Sarkisian calling his plays. He had a NFL left tackle in Kelvin Banks Jr. He had Matthew Golden, who might be the first wide receiver taken this year.
He had Xavier Worthy. A.D.
Mitchell. Isaiah Bond. Like he had
Sanders.
He had so many good players surrounding him, man. And
Bijan Robinson.
Despite one of the more stable situations in all of college football, he was still inconsistent on film.
And inconsistent and injury prone. He got hurt every year that he played at Texas, and this year he played through a torn oblique, which if you tear your oblique, that's obviously not going to help you. But at the same time, you can't have your quarterback getting injured that often.
Yeah, exactly. We do have another update from Tom Pelissero in his conversation with Rich Eisen, this time about Russell Wilson coming to the Steelers. Says, nothing shocks me, but I would be very surprised if Russell Wilson, under any circumstances, is back in Pittsburgh. So it sounds
Who said that?
Tom Pelissero.
Oh, wow.
So it sounds like the Steelers are just done with Russell Wilson.
Or is
there's no interest from their part.
Do you think it's the Steelers or is it Russ?
Could be mutual at this point.
Yeah.
It sounds like the Steelers haven't even offered him a contract, and they haven't even talked to his representation.
And at this point, if that's the case, he is not coming back.
Well, also, it was reported yesterday by a friend of the show, Slick Rick, that Russ is apparently willing to play for the Giants right now on a 1-year, $5 million deal. That's $1 million more than Mason Rudolph, guys. That is a hell of a deal for the Giants if they take that. Hell, I hope that gets announced later today so Rodgers can just sign his damn contract and we can move forward with this.
I'm with you.
You know, like I can't wait to see the reaction though from our friend and coworker Marshall Green, because he has been pushing for Rodgers hard on our Giants channel.
He might crash out,
and he has been just shitting on Russell Wilson on his channel. If he ends up with Russell Wilson, and then let's say Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders go number 1 and number 2, the Giants have Russell Wilson and nobody else.
For those of you that don't know, Marshall Green, one of my best friends here at Chat Sports.
Me too. He's an awesome guy. Awesome guy.
He is the biggest crash out waiting to happen at the office. If the Giants lose on a Sunday, I do not talk to Marshall until Tuesday. I wait 48 hours to talk to him. If he has to deal with Russell Wilson after all the shit that he's talked about Russell Wilson, he may have to quit his job.
So a new report from Mike Florio. So lots of new reporting coming out today on Aaron Rodgers. Florio, and by the way, you know, let's just say be careful with Mike Florio reports, all right? He's wrong all the time. He said last year, no chance the Steelers signed Russell Wilson. A week later, they signed him. This year, literally 4 days before the Pittsburgh Steelers, it was announced that they were pursuing Aaron Rodgers, said there was no interest from the Steelers in Rodgers. So Mike Florio can go suck a big one, all right? But this is what he had to say. Rodgers' agent, David Dunn, has been encouraging Rodgers to be patient. Patience can become leverage. Leverage can improve offers. As we understand it, the Steelers have had an offer on the table for nearly 2 weeks. It hasn't been sweetened yet. It could be in theory. So, according to Florio, the reason why Rodgers is being so gosh darn patient with this decision is because his agent is telling him to do so. Not Rodgers. Rodgers is obviously agreeing to do that, but apparently his agent is telling him, hey, hold off a little bit to see if these offers get any better. And it'll be interesting to see if the Steelers sweeten that offer at all. $2 from Interstellar Reaper says Aaron Rodgers throwing to Pickens and Deke is aura.
Mad aura.
Mad aura, baby.
I want to know he's not going to wear number 12, right?
No, I think Rodgers will wear 8 here.
How dare him disrespect Kenny Pickett?
Yeah, take away the disgrace of that number. That's what I say. Plus, how great would it be if Rodgers, wearing the number 8, beats Kenny Pickett starting for the Browns next year by like 30 points? How great would that be?
That would be chill.
That would be chills. CJ Ross, $1. Appreciate you, CJ. You're a real one. $3 from Justin Shannon says, what do you think of Scatabo Steeler material? Absolutely.
He is a Steeler.
Listen, man, he plays the game the way that Steelers fans want their players to play the game. All right? Hard-nosed, super physical, giving all-out effort and energy on every play. He gives his life. He is a gladiator in there, man. And, today's game is a lot about finesse. Today's game is a lot about speed and a lot of these different things. The only negative I have on Cam Scatabo and his profile, guys, is he doesn't have elite long speed. All right, he runs like a 4.5, maybe a low 4.6. And, James Conner ran in that same kind of area. Marshawn Lynch ran in that same kind of area. And Cam Scatabo, over the last decade of college football, the only 2 running backs that have broken as many tackles as he has are Bijan Robinson, who went in the top 5? Was he 5th overall?
Bijan went
6? 7. Top 10 pick. And Ashton Genty, who's probably going to go top 10 as well. All right, so Scatabo is probably going to go on day 2. So if he's there in round 3 for the Pittsburgh Steelers and guys like Caleb Johnson, Quinshon Judkins, others are off the board, I think Scatabo would be an awesome addition to this team because the Steelers want somebody that's going to pound the living shit out of opposing defenses. The Steelers want to run the ball so much that the opposing defense is gassed by the end of the game. Scatabo is the type of guy that can do that for you. He's got incredible stamina, and he plays with incredible power. All right, it's tough to bring him down because he's built so low to the ground, but his lower body is built so well that his contact balance is insanely good. And for a guy of his build, he's a big boy. Very strong, very powerful. He's got really quick feet. So, and also, you can make an argument, he's the second best receiving back in this entire class. Runs great routes. He's got secure hands. And if you want to throw him footballs out of the backfield, he's more than capable of doing that. So I love Scatabo's profile. I think he's got a Pittsburgh Steeler mentality. And if the Steelers take him in round 3, I'll be excited about it.
I'll say this. I think Scatabo plays so hard that his NFL career may be short.
I mean, I don't know about that.
He is so violent. And
he is violent. But Marshawn Lynch played a long time. He was the most violent back of all time.
Not wrong. So,
it just depends on his injury history. It depends on his conditioning. And by all accounts, he works really hard and all that different stuff. I think you can make an argument he was born to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. But I would rather draft Ashton Genty. I would rather draft Omarion Hampton. I would rather have Quinshon Judkins. I would rather have Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. But those might be the only 4 backs that I would rather have compared to Cam Scatabo. Like, he is a really good player, man. $2 from Merjanic says, who is your favorite QB prospect outside of round 1?
Do you count Tyler Shuck as round 1? Because we all know that's your guy.
I mean, I don't. I have a round 2 grade on Tyler Shuck. All right? So I would probably go with Shuck because right now I think that the two people that are consensus round 1 guys, at least at this point, are Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders. Now, Jackson Dart is starting to get in that conversation. So let's exclude him as well. Tyler Shuck is my favorite day 2 quarterback prospect if he makes it there. And he's even getting some buzz in round 1 right now. So I think Shuck's an excellent prospect. I think he's the most pro-ready quarterback in this entire class. His film is really nice. Now, he's 26 years old, so he's ancient, 7 years in college. He was hurt for most of his college career, has 2 broken collarbones and a broken fibula on his record. So he's got an injury history, a pretty serious injury history. And then also his numbers under pressure are not very good because there was so much pressure that he faced last year at Louisville. So I think within structure, he is the best quarterback in this class. Mental processing is awesome. Anticipation is awesome. Clean, repeatable throwing mechanics lead to probably the best accuracy in the class. He can throw with great arm strength and with arm flexibility, which means he can throw it sidearm. He can throw it off platform. He doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. I think he does a really good job recognizing the blitz. He played in a pro-style offense last year, so he'll understand how to operate an NFL offense on day 1. If you're looking for somebody, let's say the Steelers miss out on Rodgers and that Pelissero's report that the Steelers are just not interested in Russ is legit, then if you're looking for somebody to play right away, I think Tyler Shuck is probably the Steelers' best bet. That's just my opinion. I'm higher on Shuck than like Coop is.
If it's not Shuck, who is it?
Probably
Dart? Milrow?
See, I think Shadur is better than Dart is, but Dart's got...
Well, assuming Shadur and Cam Ward are off the board.
Then it's Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. All right, $10 from Justin. Says, what's up, Jack? I appreciate all the research and time you put in to bring us fire off-season content. That being said, it would be too soon if you never mentioned Cam Scatabo or Tyler Shuck 7th round. LOL.
If Tyler Shuck was in the 7th round, Sperry may need to bring a change of pants to work.
Well, the only reason, in my opinion, that Shuck would fall to the 7th is medical stuff because his tape's awesome. So if his medical stuff doesn't check out, maybe it could be a Corey Trice Jr. situation where you get him in round 7.
What was Corey's original grade?
I had a round 3 grade on him.
Really?
I really like Corey coming out. His tape was really nice. Physical player, but obviously just hasn't been able to stay healthy. And I think he's shown why I put that grade on him in the league. When he's been on the field, he's been pretty good. So hopefully Corey's able to turn it around and stay healthy this next year. $2 from my man Byron. Says Scatabo, Steelers, Saquon Barkley. He doesn't have the long speed that Saquon has.
Saquon is a blazer.
Yeah, Saquon, if you're looking for the closest thing to Saquon in this class, it's probably Genty. Yeah, I'd probably say Genty's the closest thing to Saquon, but there's only one Saquon Barkley in this league, man. he's unbelievable.
And by the way, the team that Aaron Rodgers is allegedly competing with, or the Giants and the Steelers, let Saquon Barkley go for nothing.
Yeah. Good luck having them build a team around you, Aaron. If that's what you decide to do, please come to the Steelers. $2 from Merjanic. Says, is there any QB on day 3 that can be a project? Hopefully Jalen Milrow falls to you in that kind of area. Will Howard, I think, is a project that might be worthwhile.
He's doo-doo garbage, baby.
I agree, but he's got some tools.
Yeah, okay.
He's got a strong arm. He has a nice deep ball. He can run a little bit. Big frame. So could he maybe develop? Yeah, but his pocket presence is doo-doo garbage, baby. He doesn't really process defenses all that well. His accuracy was really inconsistent during the season last year for Ohio State. A day 3 fly or whatever. You know what project I would love on day 3, Coop? He's not even a rookie. Joe Milton.
You would trade.
I would trade.
Day 3?
I would trade up to a 5th round pick for Joe Milton.
He has all the tools in the world. I don't think he can play quarterback.
And he showed significant development in very key areas where he was very, very bad in Tennessee. Pocket presence, accuracy, mental processing. He showed some of those chops and that growth last year. He was, what was it, like 15 for his first 15 in that season finale game or something like that? And he showed off the playmaking instincts, and he showed off the running ability, and he showed off what is maybe the strongest arm in this league right now. Like
Duke is just giving it to Mount St. Mary's right now.
Mount St. Mary's is the worst team in the tournament, so makes sense. So yeah, man, there's players in this draft, quarterbacks. Quinn Ewers is a project that
he is
worth
He's got tools.
He's got tools. He's got quick release, smooth mechanics.
Inconsistent.
There are some guys that have some talent that need to be developed, but probably have a very low chance of developing into a future starter. That's certainly that's the case every year, though.
Yeah.
Not no. $5 says Tyler Shuck had 6 years in college to put 1 year of good tape. LOL, no thanks. Love the show.
That's my biggest problem with him as well.
So one of those 6 years was a COVID year. 3 of those other years, he was dealing with a major injury. Now, it is worth mentioning that he got benched twice at Texas Tech. He never won the starting job at Oregon. And he backed up Anthony fucking Brown at Oregon. He couldn't even beat him out. But listen, man, we've seen guys really struggle early on in their college career and then finish it out with one special season. Jaden Daniels out of LSU. Joe Burrow with the LSU Tigers, even though he played pretty well before his Heisman.
He was good before the Heisman year, but...
Yeah, and same thing with Jaden Daniels. They were both okay college quarterbacks, but then they really burst onto the scene their final season. I think what I look at, is the film from this past season, because that's the quarterback they are now.
True.
All right,
Very true.
Did he struggle his first 6 years to stay on the field, and did he struggle on the field as well? Yes, but you have to realize last year that offensive line at Louisville might have been a bottom 5, Power 5 offensive line. It was so bad.
They were awful.
So bad. And then his number 1 receiver, Ja'Cory Brooks, he's draft eligible. He might not even get drafted this year.
You were showing me some clips of Shuck throwing downfield to those guys. It was a joke.
It's perfect passes right in their hands, and they drop it. And he doesn't get credit for that on the stat sheet, but it's a perfect throw.
Yeah.
So it's and there was one play against Notre Dame, Shuck, pressure in his face, throws it sidearm perfectly right to a wide open receiver who then bobbles it right to the defensive player. And, of course, on the stat sheet, that shows up as a Tyler Shuck interception.
But it wasn't.
But it was a phenomenal play. So, that's why tape study's so important. And Shuck's film is really good. So that's why I'm high on him. I'm not saying there's not red flags involved with him. There's a reason why I have a round 2 grade on him and not a round 1 grade on him. But if you're looking for somebody to operate an NFL offense as a starting quarterback in year 1, honestly, I'm not sure if there's a more pro-ready quarterback in this class than Tyler Shuck. So that's where I'm at with him. Justin, again, says if Shedeur Sanders falls to 10 or 11, do the Steelers go up for him, and what would it take? If not, what number would it be before we move up? To move from 21 to 10 or 11, it's going to cost you at least another first-round pick.
It also
so you're not picking a first-round pick in your home, in your home city in 2026 if you trade up for Shedeur Sanders, who, by the way, Shedeur, I have a late first-round grade on him.
It also depends. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback.
Yeah, and if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback, you're not trading up for Shedeur Sanders. You're just not doing that. So,
if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback and Shedeur is there at 21, I don't think you're taking him.
I think there's less than a 3 or 2% chance that Shedeur Sanders is a Pittsburgh Steeler.
I agree.
The chances are just so low that he falls as far as he's not going to need to fall for the Steelers to take him. And then at this point, I have a 95% chance Aaron Rodgers will be here in Pittsburgh. So
you think it's 95 right now?
I think it's very high. Very high. As long as they're not offering him 1 year, $5 million, an absurdly low contract, which I don't think is the case, by the way. I think the Steelers are kind of willing to do whatever it takes to get him at this point. I don't think they're taking a quarterback in round 1. Shedeur, do we still have the positives and negatives? Can we get that? Can we get that? Can we talk about Shedeur for a little bit here?
Sure.
We'll get our graphics here. I'll give you guys my full scouting report here on Shedeur Sanders. Do we just show the full list 10?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just show the full list 10 here. Here are the things that I like about Shedeur Sanders. And there's a lot of stuff that I like about him. There's a lot of, very pro-ready traits that he has. His mental processing's really good. He can get from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, get to his check down, do all the things, mentally speaking, he's quick enough to play in the NFL. He also has a very quick and clean release. You can tell that he's been coached at a very high level. And because of that, he's a very accurate passer. His ball placement in the short to intermediate levels of the field is better than anybody else in this class, and it's some of the best I've seen in a long time. He's very used to pressure as well. That's something that I like in NFL quarterbacks, guys, coming out because, if you're at Alabama or if you're at Ohio State and you're never getting pressured and you're always having a clean pocket, that's not really getting you ready for the NFL. Colorado had a terrible offensive line, so Shedeur was constantly having to deal with pressure. And if you look at the numbers compared to the other quarterbacks in this class, Shedeur is the best at handling pressure. He knows when to get outside the pocket. He knows how to avoid that pressure and make a guy miss. And then he's actually very good throwing on the run as well. Very underrated playmaker as a scrambler, in my opinion. His playmaking instincts are there. He keeps his eyes downfield, good vision to find the open man. And then he is used to the spotlight. I mean, plain and simply, if you are the new starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers or the New York Football Giants or somebody, with a big, very in-tune fan base that's going to put a lot of pressure on the quarterback, this guy's been under a spotlight since he was in high school, all right? Like, this guy's Deion Sanders' son. He embraces the spotlight. He's not afraid of it. And I think that is the mentality you need to have for somebody that's going to be taking a job like the Pittsburgh Steelers. But the negatives, all right? And there are significant negatives in his game, in my opinion. Number one, his arm is below the NFL average for a starting quarterback. I would say it's a C-minus NFL arm. So kind of almost like a backup level arm, where if he is a starting quarterback, like he will be in the bottom quarter of the league in arm strength, maybe bottom 5. And that's a little bit of a concern. Now, can he make every throw technically? Yes, all right? But he's not going to get it there as fast as other players, which means that he's going to have to be really good at anticipating open receivers, and he doesn't really do that on his college film. He usually waits for the receiver to come open and then throws the football. You look at kind of the weaker-armed quarterbacks in the league that have success, Brock Purdy, Tua Tagovailoa, those guys. They are phenomenal at anticipating open receivers. Because they need to, because they don't have the arm strength to be able to wait for receivers to come open. And right now, that combination of below average NFL arm strength for a starter and the fact that he doesn't have great anticipation, I think is going to lead to some interceptions early on in his career. Now, is it possible that he develops that anticipation? Absolutely. Peyton Manning's anticipation was terrible coming into the league. And then Bruce Arians taught him how to anticipate. And when he did that, he became one of the best quarterbacks in the history of the National Football League. So Shedeur Sanders can absolutely develop that part of his game, but it's not currently there, so it is a massive red flag. All right, so just keep that in mind. He also holds the ball way too long for somebody that doesn't have a good arm, and is a limited playmaker. He played in a very college-y style offense, and what I mean by that is a lot of manufactured completions, lots of screens, lots of RPOs, lots of quick, easy passes that he benefited from. Then I think that he's a good but not great athlete in terms of his ability to run. He can scoot a little bit. He can make a guy miss. He's got a little bit of contact balance. Like if you need him to pick up a first down and nobody's covering him and there's no spy, he's fine. But he's not going to be a guy that you center a QB run game for. And because of the lack of arm strength, because of the lack of dynamic athleticism, and all the stuff that we've talked about, I think it really does limit his upside. And I think that at best he's going to be like a game manager type quarterback that is around middle of the pack among NFL starting quarterbacks. I don't think he's ever going to win an NFL MVP. I don't think he's ever going to be considered a top 5 or top 10 NFL quarterback. And I think that if you get him, you're hoping that you can put a great roster around him, and he can be a phenomenal game manager that doesn't throw interceptions, that gets the ball where it needs to go. But even that, with the anticipation issues, I think, there's definitely a high chance of a bust potential here as well. So I think that there are positives with Shedeur Sanders, but in my opinion, his lack of arm strength wouldn't fit well in the AFC North, where you have to throw the ball into winds, into the snow, into the rain. You have to deal with conditions in Pittsburgh and Baltimore, Cleveland, and Cincinnati. There's nowhere to hide in this division when it comes to playing in the conditions, and especially come playoff time. And then, the combination of below average NFL arm strength and a lack of anticipation makes me worried that he's going to be a bona fide NFL bust, and he's just not going to be a good player. So the lack of upside, the potential for him to be a round one bust, all those reasons are the reasons why I would personally not trade up for Shedeur Sanders. And honestly, even if he's available at 21, I'm not sure how interested I'd be in Shedeur Sanders. So I hope that answers your question. Breaking down Shedeur Sanders' profile here on the show. $2 from Janik. Says Calvin Austin isn't a 3, best wide receiver of available options in free agency in the draft.
I actually think he is a 3.
Here's the thing. I think he is a 3. He showed some good things last year, in my opinion. He's a good route runner. Like, if you watch the film, he's open all the time, and guys are not throwing him the football. Both Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, but especially Justin Fields early in the season. He was breaking wide open multiple times a game, and he just wasn't throwing it to him. But Calvin, as a number 3, he's small, but he's a really good route runner. He showed last year. He made some tough catches down the sideline and over the middle of the field. I think he's underrated as a contested catcher. And then remember the one against Cleveland in the snow? What a catch that was. And then, he's great after the catch, dynamic with the ball in his hands in open space. And I think as a number 3 option, he's a really good number 3 receiver, man. I can't respectfully disagree more with Calvin Austin isn't a number 3. I think he's a really good player as a number 3. And then you also have Roman Wilson, who this team still believes in. And by the way, Coop, I've discussed this on the show too. My pro comp for him coming out last year was none other than Randall Cobb, one of the most productive receivers in Aaron Rodgers' career. So I think that'd be a perfect fit for Aaron Rodgers.
I also think if we do get Rodgers, it wouldn't shock me to see Allen Lazard become a Steeler.
Yeah, the Jets haven't released him yet.
They haven't officially released him?
They haven't released him. So maybe they trade for him, 7th-round pick for Allen Lazard. I wouldn't mind that.
Sure.
So Diana Rossini, now we have an update here. Aaron Rodgers has left the Steelers facility. The two sides have yet to come to an agreement at this time.
Doom.
That's a little bit of a doom because I was hoping that Rodgers was going to be able to finesse Rodgers into signing today. But we have to remember here, guys, that Russell Wilson visited the Steelers on a Friday and then took a couple days and then signed on a Sunday. So we might be waiting the rest of the weekend for an official decision. Like, Rodgers might just be like, you know what, I'm going to meditate on this, or I'm going to go on a darkness retreat, or I'm going to do something to kind of, see if this is something that I'm going to do. Plus, I mean, he might go back to his hotel room, talk about it with the people that are important to him.
Which is who?
And by the way, what might happen is he might wait till Monday, and we might get a notification from Pat McAfee Sunday night saying we're going to have a special guest on the show on Monday. And it might be Monday. That is the official day. But, because he came to Pittsburgh first, because he went cross-country to come here to Pittsburgh, for all these reasons, I think that Pittsburgh is his most desired location. And if the Steelers are willing to come to the table on a deal that's suitable for him, I think he's going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, plain and simply.
Look at who just liked my tweet, that first name.
Who is that?
I don't know, but read it. Read the name.
Nice. So, no says Dart 21 is ideal for me, better than RPO Sanders.
I don't know if I'm taking Dart.
But here's 21. The thing, Dart ran a shit ton of RPOs too.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, Lane Kiffin's offense is a super college-y offense. So, I don't know if you can say, I don't want RPO Sanders, and then say I don't want Dart, because he ran a lot of RPOs last year too. So, if you're looking for somebody with a pro-style offense background, I would point you in the direction of Tyler Shuck. He ran a pro-style offense last year. Not a lot of RPOs, not a lot of manufactured receptions. he had to make checks at the line of scrimmage. He had to set protections. Did a pretty damn good job of it last year. So I think Dart is a day 2 guy, in my opinion. I'd be okay with him I'd be okay with it if the Steelers drafted him on day 2, on round 3, but it sounds like he's going to go round 1 somewhere.
You think Dart's going round 1?
I mean, that's what all the whispers are. Now, maybe it's a Will Levis situation where everyone's juicing him up and he's not really as good as people. Everyone's trying to get other people to take Jackson Dart. Maybe that's what's going on here. But I do think that Dart has some starter potential. I don't think he's a terrible prospect, but I think he's more of a day 2 guy than a day 1 guy. But that's just my opinion. All right. We don't have any more. Oh, we got Justin Watson in here. My man Justin.
What
Let's
up,
go.
Justin?
Good to see you, man.
Justin's trying to stir up some controversy in the comments.
What is he saying?
He said,
Yeah, he is trying to stir the pot a little bit, isn't it? Listen, man, Aaron Rodgers is a polarizing figure. I get it, all right? I get it. He is old. He is somebody that has a reputation of not being the easiest to work with. But what I'll say is, out of the options available, it's pretty obvious to me that Rodgers gives this team the best chance to have success. And then even if he doesn't have success and he ruins Mike Tomlin's locker room and all this different shit, you can just get rid of Rodgers next year. You can fire Tomlin, and you can draft a quarterback when the draft is in Pittsburgh next year. How electric would that be? All right, so even if it doesn't work, I think that in the long run, it'd be a good thing for the Pittsburgh Steelers to bring in Aaron Rodgers. All right, and then, I understand that a lot of people don't like his political views, and listen, I get that he's old, but he hasn't lost his arm strength. This isn't a Kirk Cousins situation that we're talking about here, guys. Like, Kirk Cousins has lost his arm strength. That's one thing. Aaron Rodgers can still sling that pill, all right, and he's still got elite NFL football intelligence. He's got a ton of experience. He protects the football, which is important to Mike Tomlin. And I feel like he could have a Brett Favre kind of run here in Pittsburgh like he had in Minnesota, like Favre had in Minnesota.
Get us to the
title game. And hey, even if the Steelers don't win a Super Bowl and they get to an AFC Championship game, at least they're not just living in mediocrity, right? At least they're not just going with Mason Rudolph like a lot of people are suggesting, which is like, if you go with Mason, your best case scenario is a mediocre season, exactly where the Steelers have been the last several seasons. With Rodgers, the best case scenario, in my opinion, is a Super Bowl.
I'm with you.
CJ Ross, $2, says, "Did you get my Cash App?" Yes, I did. Sorry, I was on a rant there, CJ. I will get this into Coop.
When Sperry gets on a rant, there's no stopping him.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm a thinker. All right. So once
we know that.
Once it starts churning in here, I can get lost. All right. So we'll get to CJ's Cash App here in just a second. John Masood, my man, says, different subject. Why isn't Andy Russell in the Hall of Fame? I don't know, man. He was an all-time great player. All-time great. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you, John. I don't have a good answer for you, dude. I do think, though, Coop, that there's too many people that do not deserve to be in the Hall of Fame that are getting in.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the Hall of Fame should be, like, all-time class-level players. There's players that have made, like, 1 or 2 Pro Bowls getting into the fucking Hall of Fame. Like, what are we doing here? Like, you have to, like, people that have...
Bill Belichick said Matthew Slater should be in the Hall of Fame.
What a joke.
It's embarrassing.
What a joke. I mean, if anyone has the right to make that take, it's Bill Belichick,
Sure.
But it's still a bad take. CJ Ross, $40. Sorry I took so long, my friend.
Shut up.
But
CJ.
he says, let's fucking go chat. Let's go. CJ Ross, fire me up, man. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. So listen, man, what I'll say about Rodgers leaving the facility is that I do think that the Steelers and Rodgers' agent will continue to have conversations. They might even have conversations into the night tonight. And maybe tomorrow, if Rodgers hasn't left the city, Maybe tomorrow's the day he goes into the facility to sign his contract.
Could be.
Maybe tomorrow's the day. But
I doubt it.
But I also think he's probably going to take the weekend to think about it. That's my thinking. The only thing I really hope is he doesn't go to New York.
Yes.
Because if he's in the Giants building tomorrow, and he's visiting the New York Football Giants tomorrow, that's when I'll start to get a little bit nervous. I still think he'd pick the Steelers over the Giants, but like if he visited the Steelers and he said, "Nah, I'm still gonna go visit the Giants," I still think he'd pick the Steelers, but that thought will be creeping in the back of my mind. What if he signs, and what if they convince him that that's the right spot?
He said, "Nah, I don't really feel like it."
Yeah. So let's just hope that he takes some time to mull things over, and eventually he comes to the realization, this is where I want to be. And I talked about it on yesterday's show, Coop, where we talked about the reasons why Rodgers hasn't made this decision yet. And I think, he would love to come to Pittsburgh.
I think he would too.
Based on everything that he has said about the city, everything that he has said about the fan base, everything that he has said about the organization, everything that he has said about Mike Tomlin, the fact that this team still has really, really good talent on the defensive side of the ball, the fact that you've got a bona fide wide receiver duo here, the fact that the Steelers are set up to take a really good running back in the draft this year to complete a legit running back duo, everything here in Pittsburgh and everything that Rodgers has said about this team, this city, Mike Tomlin, etc., would point to the fact that he would want to play football here. Not with the New York Giants, who won 3 games last year and are on as shaky ground as pretty much any team in the National Football League right now. So that's where I think that we're at. I think eventually Rodgers will be a Pittsburgh Steeler, and if I had to guess, I think by the end of the weekend he will be a Pittsburgh Steeler. But we'll see.
We'll find out.
This is Aaron Rodgers we are talking about here, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we just got a Cash App. Send it to you.
Sounds good.
Boom. And if you guys got any questions, any comments, any concerns, you guys can super chat, and we will put them up on screen, and we will address your questions here on the show. Still got about 733 people watching live around the world. Yeah, it's 10. $10 from my man Jeffrey Malone. Jeff, if you want to put in another 10, we'll put you in the raffle for the jersey. He did not. He says Steelers Nation in good hands with you and Coop. Jeff,
appreciate you, Jeff.
Thanks for the kind words, man. We try to do our best. You guys are the reason why this community is what it is, though, man. I'm just a guy up here. I'm just some idiot on YouTube talking. All right, you guys are the reason why this channel is what it is.
We were literally scripting another Steelers to go out, and we got the update. We were like, "Scrap, let's go live."
Yeah, we were actually we were scripting a video non-Aaron Rodgers quarterback rumors. We were going to talk about Joe Milton. We were going to talk about Will Levis. We were going to talk about Kirk Cousins.
And then we got the notey, and we said, "Let's go live."
And we're like, "Time to shift to Rodgers, baby." You know what? I think that Marsh probably saw that Rossini tweet and said, "We're back, baby." And I'm like, "Get your hopes up again, pal."
I know Marsh was ordering some Shugs this morning. I'm jealous.
Shugs is amazing, man.
Oh yeah.
$2. No says, "Go to New York and realize how annoying Dable is."
Look, I think Brian Dable's a really good ball coach.
And my attitude on this is, hey man, you want to see bad football? You want to take a chance on a team that just won 3 wins last year? You want to try and turn around that organization into a Super Bowl team in the next 1 to 2 years of your career? Good luck. Good luck with that, pal. The Steelers have won 10 games with defective offenses the last 2 years. The Giants...
Mitch Trubisky started games for this team.
Mitch Trubisky had a 3-game losing streak where they lost to 3 of some of the worst teams in the league in a row, And then they won 3 straight with Mason Rudolph to finish the season. All right?
What more is there to say?
This Steelers team, if Aaron Rodgers can bounce back, and he's even like a mid-level starter, all right? We're talking like 10th to 15th best quarterback in the league. You don't even need him to be like an elite-level quarterback. You just need him to be fine. And with DK Metcalf, George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth, hopefully a much better run game, hopefully better pass protection, and a good defense that isn't on the field forever like it is every single season because the offense is defective. Hey, who knows how good this team can be? That's all I'm going to say. As somebody that grew up in Minnesota, my family is split between Vikings and Steelers fans. All right? And a lot of my friends are Vikings fans. I grew up during the Brett Favre year in Minnesota in 2009. It was electric, all right? And the Vikings aren't even my primary team, and it was electric. I want that feeling again, and I want it for my primary team, the Pittsburgh fucking Steelers.
I love the way they're talking to you.
I love the way they're talking to you, Aaron. Come on now, Chip. Sign the damn papers, Aaron. Sign the damn papers. Let's stop pussyfooting around. You don't want to go to the Giants.
You don't
want to go. You don't want to deal with East Rutherford, New Jersey anymore. You want to come to Pittsburgh. You want to eat Primanti Bros sandwiches. You want fries on your sandwiches, man. You love the city of Pittsburgh. You love Mike Tomlin. You have said it yourself how much you respect and like the Steelers organization and the history and the history and the tradition of this football team. They have a good roster, ready to win now. All they need is a good quarterback. And you can provide that. Just sign the damn papers. Please.
Couldn't have said it better.
All right. Should we say goodbye?
I think we can.
Should we call it a day here?
Call it a day.
All right, man. Well, that last little stretch there was probably a good way to end the show. So we appreciate all the super chats. We appreciate all the donations. Of course, if there's more news, we'll make sure to get you guys updates. And if the big decision comes and Rodgers is officially a Steeler, we'll be back live. So make sure you turn on those notifications, click that subscribe button. We love you and appreciate you guys. And until next time, here we go, Steelers.
Adios.